Hi, we are JKwan, a new podcast of views from foreigners based in Japan, focusing on worldwide racial and systematic inequalities and disparities, language, music, the arts, and culture. Created by everyday people for everyday people.
All right.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome, Jay. Hello. Welcome to episode
Hey,
9
Kwan.
of JKwan. Yeah. How are you
How
doing?
you doing? I'm good,
Yeah,
I
yeah, I'm
guess.
good too. Yeah, so today we have a ton
It was my
on the
birthday. It was
schedule.
my birthday this week as well, Mr. Man.
This,
hmm
did you get anything for, uh, yeah, did
I
you
don't
get,
really care about presents. I got cards, and I wasn't looking for anything. And I think a lot of people this year aren't really celebrating a birthday because of COVID, right? So what
mm,
can you
mm.
possibly do? You know,
Yeah, what do
I'm just
birthdays mean
grateful
to
to
you
be here
now?
another year. I'm sorry.
What do birthdays mean to you now? Is it just like another day or is it really
It's
special?
always the same. I'm just grateful to be here for another year. I'm grateful
Okay,
for the
okay.
people that send message and blessings. I'm just grateful for that. I don't really gift. I don't need a gift or anything. I like cards. My family always sends me cards, which they know I like. But that's really. I don't really need any gifts. I'm fine.
Mm, mm, mm.
What about yourself?
I don't really care. Yeah, it's just for me. It's just like, oh, another day, another yeah. I have to legally change
I
my
do take
number
it.
of my age.
No, I take it seriously because it's another year that I've lived, and especially with COVID, you don't know, right? It's uncertain. So, um, what did I say to people? I said I really appreciate them taking time out in this uncertain times and scary times
Mm,
to still remember my birthday because you got all everyone's got a lot of things on their plates regarding COVID, money, stress,
yeah,
you know, and all that now in the in England they had what, a lot of snow and stuff in America
yeah,
with
yeah,
that the freeze and all that it's
yeah,
quite so it's really nice that people are remembering my birthday during all of these difficult times and
times.
things
Yeah,
that are going through. So for me, I really appreciate it, and I'm here another year, and that I'm appreciative of that.
okay, all right.
So that's
Well
why
then,
I do celebrate
mm,
it, and I do enjoy having a birthday. So
mm, mm,
I'm seeing it again.
mm.
You never know,
Yeah, okay, okay.
right?
Some more positive, celebrate life perspective.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. Then that in that case, I'm going to keep my chin up for this year's birthday because it's the big 3-0 for me. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
under the belt.
It ain't that big.
Okay, the mid-size 3-0.
No, I remember when I was going to be 30. When I was going to be 30, I wasted a whole year panicking about being 30
Oh
because
really?
it's like a big jump from your
Yeah,
20s to
yeah,
your 30s.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
huge but it's not. And I'm just saying
Okay,
I never ever again. Just I said no. I wasted a whole year going, but there's no difference. I'm still me.
okay, okay, okay. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
don't if you're gonna panic about it, don't waste it. Do not waste your time. Do
yeah.
not waste your time.
Wise
Seriously.
advice, well taken. Okay, okay. All right, all right, all right, all right. How do you feel? You wanna get on with the schedule?
Yeah, let's talk about
Let's do it.
what's been happening this year so far. I know
Mm-hmm.
that I haven't gotten much details about February and what's been going on, but I know that in
Right,
January there were 7 Black people killed by the police. Some of them we
right.
mentioned last month. I couldn't find anything about February. I doubt that there's none. It's just maybe they're not big news, and they should be. A life is big
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
news. Taking a life is big news,
Right. I was gonna
but
ask you. It's like,
there isn't.
why do you think you haven't been able to see that, like those
I
figures and stuff?
like I said, maybe people newspapers don't think it's big news or it's hidden or whatever.
Uh,
Um, I don't know. Maybe we will get something at the end of the month or maybe sometime next month, but I haven't seen anything. And I've
what do you think?
been
Yeah.
looking. Maybe hopefully there's nothing. That'd be great if there's
What
none.
do you think that people? I mean, like, I feel like the answer is obvious, but like, like that this information is being hidden.
It's always been hidden, right? Until now, we've got like the phone cameras. This is why it's so widespread now, because
Yeah.
people have phone cameras and they can record what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before the phone cameras, it was more, it's hidden. It was his word against their word, and more time than not. I mean, even now when you see the cases, right, and the police are getting off, even though there's a video camera.
Yeah.
That I mean, that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have a lot of doubts and a lot of distrust because of how things are, um, the result of what's happened, and police are constantly and still continue to get off,
Right. Right.
when
Right.
they
Right.
kill black people. In my opinion, is that we are still not viewed as humans. We can't be.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
We can't be. Well,
Hmm.
I'd like us to have a look, at the police in schools,
Okay.
which I don't see the necessity for it at all. Um,
Right. Right. Right.
well,
Did
when
you
I was in
have?
school,
Yeah.
we didn't have it at all.
How about now in the UK?
Those times the teachers were able to cane or slipper you with the
Okay.
parent permission, of course.
Right. 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 How
But
about now in the UK? Are there?
um, they I found out recently that they have. I don't know if it's in all schools, but I found out recently that they have been, and they're thinking about squashing it because, um, black again, young black boys and girls are targeted.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I think America's had it for a while,
Hmm.
and
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't understand it. But
Yeah.
I would like
Yeah.
you to show the video. I'm not going to say the word properly. I'm sorry about that. Osceola deputy. Is that right? Osceola?
Os.
Osceola? Osceola deputy slamming.
Osceola.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Osceola. Yeah. So I'd like us to have a look at the video, then we'll come back and talk about it.
Yeah. 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 Let's do that. Okay.
Tonight, a veteran member of the Osceola County Sheriff's Department is under investigation. That deputy is part of a now viral video that shows him slamming a student to the ground. We first told you about the story last night at 11. Now we're learning more about the deputy involved in this. News 6's Lauren Cervantes is in Osceola County with the latest from the sheriff.
Sheriff Lopez says that Deputy Ethan Fournier is currently on paid administrative leave pending an investigation by FDLE. Now, the sheriff also said today that many have reached out to him regarding the student seen in that video. He says she is okay. We do want to warn you, though, that the video you're about to see may be disturbing. This video showing an Osceola County school resource officer, now identified as Deputy Ethan Fournier, slamming a female student to the ground has garnered national attention. In the video, Fournier is seen handcuffing the student that appears to not be moving. Today at a press conference, Sheriff Marcos Lopez says he's turned the investigation over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
They're going to conduct a criminal investigation. They're the ones that are going to review any type of evidence or any type of videos that are out there. We want to make sure it's a complete, thorough investigation without my influence in this case.
What the clip of the video doesn't show is what led up to the incident.
The student was not complying with lawful commands. She went after another student, and from there excelled, and that's where the continued investigation is going from there.
Lopez says Fournier has been with the sheriff's office for 10 years and has no prior history of misconduct. Fournier can even be found on the sheriff's office Facebook page, being recognized back in August of 2016 as Employee of the Month. The Osceola School District tells News 6 Fournier was a volunteer football coach for the school in the fall and says he is the girls' flag football coach, adding that at this time he will not be coaching the upcoming season. There is a second deputy seen in the video, but tonight the sheriff's office tells me that person is not under investigation. In Osceola County, I'm Lauren Cervantes, getting results, News 6.
I show this one, um, because the original, the one that I saw,
Mm.
um, was a different story.
Mm.
And I showed it, and he saw that it was presented by people of not people of color, and you didn't see him actually slam her, right? You just saw her on the floor. So there
Mm-hmm.
is a video where he slams her. It just took it was, and what she's saying and what the other news station was saying is completely different. She was having an argument. It was a verbal
Mm-hmm.
argument. She didn't go after anybody. It
Mm-hmm.
was so this I wanted to play this just to show you. I know I should have I should have actually. I wish I had the other one. I should have showed you that one too. I just didn't think. But it was very one-sided in how they're talking about this policeman and how they're more or less making him look like he's a victim,
Right.
right? In a sense.
Because they also like they're trying to point out the fact that like, oh, he had 10 years of like a clean record, and he's here he is getting a reward. So I guess like it seems like it's framing it as if it's like an anomaly,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? Rather than
I specifically showed this because it's a at the end of the day, it's a grown man. It's a grown man slamming a young girl,
unarmed.
right? And that's what it is, regardless of what the situation was. It's a grown man slamming a young girl to the ground,
Right.
and it's just to let you know how they view us.
Right. And I think I remember reading as well that like she wasn't being what's it called, like really any threat to the officer. She didn't attack the officer or nothing. So
It was a
completely
verbal argument.
unprovoked.
It wasn't.
Right, between her and her friend.
And she said that she went for the girl, but in the other one, it said it was a verbal argument, right? Where the girl they were shouting at each other,
Yeah,
obviously, right?
yeah.
And he told her to be quiet, and she wasn't, so he slammed her. So there's two completely different stories there.
How about the point about like the other officer that was standing around in the news report? They mentioned the other
Yeah,
officer. Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
It's bizarre for me.
Right.
And
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
I understand, and I don't understand why the police chief said that he's giving it out. Why? Is that because he's a friend of yours? And if that's your job, then you need to judge your employees as employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering why he's passing it on to another um, um, people, another group or another. I don't know who. I can't remember what he said, but he's passing on to another agency to investigate it. I do understand in a sense, but I'm also going. You know,
Okay.
what do you think?
So you have contentions about him like passing on
No,
the investigation to.
I'm wondering. I wish he would have said more why he's not doing it. I
I
wanted
can
to understand why
imagine.
he.
I guess. Yeah. My thoughts are
Right,
is
I could
yeah,
see it in biases, but you shouldn't really have a bias if you're that high ranked.
they shouldn't. But I was gonna say, like the police departments have been just getting a lot of like flack based on the fact that like their investigations have been biased and like um, yeah. So
Mm,
which is why maybe why he doesn't want to get
hmm
into that route or like
So, what did you think about that?
of the whole incident.
Mm.
It was disgusting. I mean, like the way that he treated her as some kind of object to stop. Um, and the fact that the other police officers were just standing there. It's just like repeating George Floyd incidents all over again. Like,
I agree.
um,
'Cause that's exactly what they did.
I just
They stood there and let it happen, and
yeah.
that's something that should be dealt with. They don't say anything; they just stand by.
And the fact that I don't know, there's nothing. I can't imagine anything that would warrant that kind of force, right? It's like it's like they somehow find a way to rationalize the normalization of excessive force.
And that's what they did in that newsreel.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did. they try to soften the blow, right? They try to make, they focus more on him and not on the child. The child, the child. I say it 3 times. Maybe again, the child, right? They took the fact away
Right,
that this
right.
was a child.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, yeah, it's just crazy. Um, they also have guns on premise as well, right? Like these
Mhm.
officers to
Yeah.
carry guns as well.
Yeah,
So
I would homeschool my kids. I would not have my child in a school with white policemen who carry guns, or any policemen who carry
right, right,
guns.
right, right. That's what like, like if he can justify that, then like what's stopping them from justifying him like taking pulling a gun out and shooting her?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, you're making really valid points.
um, like
Well, that's what is. I mean, I'm wondering what's going to happen to him.
right,
Um,
right, right. Have you heard any?
no, I
Any
haven't heard
okay,
anything else
okay,
on it. But we will look into that if we, if
right, right,
it
right.
does disappear, right?
Yeah.
We can go. Yeah, let's
Okay, okay.
again, the police and their nonchalance. They
Right, right, exactly.
yeah,
Nonchalant.
there's
Exactly.
2 things that I wanted to mention. It is racism and it is bullshit. And with those 2 white men that broke into the black woman's house
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
and took a shower and had an ex, was it ex fiance's clothes on or something like that.
Mm. Should I take a look at that?
I put the key in the door, it was open, so it did like that.
Shanae Porter says when she arrived home at her Briar Creek apartment Tuesday morning, she walked into a nightmare.
What's up, girl? Was it you?
Yeah, that's my apartment.
2 men she did not know lounging in her home, eating her food, wearing her ex-boyfriend's clothes. She says one of them even took a shower. A neighbor's doorbell cam shows 2 strange men the night before twisting doorknobs in the breezeway. Shanae says her door was locked, but somehow they got in. And when Shanae came home, the young mom was terrified.
I just looked at him and I said, "Who are you?" And he started coming towards me, and I hurried up and closed the door. I didn't know what to think, what to say. I was so speechless. I never seen anything like this before.
Emotions took a new turn when Raleigh police respond to Shanae's call to 911. Officers question the intruders. Shanae and her neighbors angered and confused on what they see as a lack of urgency from police. The suspects in her apartment were both white. Shanae calls it a double standard.
If I was a white woman and I called and said it was 2 black intruders in my house, I feel like they would have had them out my house immediately.
Do you know your apartment number? Yeah, I'm Shady. This is my number. I want you to tell me what the apartment number is.
Man, arrest them now. They're in my house.
She's a victim, and I want to see it treated like a victim situation. There is a foreign man in her home.
That's why we have him detained in there. You have to understand, there's actually 2 of them in there.
Get them detained outside. You can be detained outside.
At this point in time, what's safest for us and every single person out there is to deal with them in that situation, detain them, and then bring them out afterwards.
I called you for help, and you go talk to them like they're, like good people. Like they just broke into my house. I don't even feel safe with calling the police anymore because it's like you never know.
So 35-year-old Charles Mary and 45-year-old Brian Capel were both eventually arrested, each man charged with breaking and entering. They remain in the Wake County Jail tonight. We did ask RPD about Shanae's allegation that her case was treated differently because of the race of the suspects. We didn't hear back about that aspect of the case. In Raleigh, I'm Joel Brown, ABC 11 Eyewitness.
What do you think about that?
That was actually the first time I saw that. Since you shared that, that was crazy. Like I don't know if you saw my reaction, but I was like, "What?" Like these guys are just like casually in her house eating her food. What is this, like Little Red Riding Hood? Like, or no, was it 3 Little Bears? Yeah, that's crazy. And then like the police officers just casually talking with them, right, in her house.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she made a valid point. She said, "There's a white woman calling about a black man. What would happen?"
If it was a
That would
black
not
man.
be the case. That would not be the case, and you know that. They'd either be dead or dragged out like dogs.
Right. I don't understand why. So she was saying that they should have been detained outside, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
right. So I don't understand why. Yeah, like why did they have to do everything inside the house?
She should have taken him outside of the house. This is her property, and it's like she's been
Right.
burgled.
Yeah.
So it's going to
Okay.
be really uncomfortable for her to go back in the house anyway. But the fact that
Right.
they're doing this in her house,
Right.
right? That makes no sense to me.
I can imagine the police officers trying defending themselves by saying that they're trying to treat it as a crime scene. So it's like a crime scene.
No, they're asking the guy if they knew the address. Didn't you hear what they were saying to the guy?
Right.
Right,
Okay.
what's the address of this house? The girl already
Yeah,
told him
yeah.
that's her house.
Yeah. Okay. Then no, there's
So,
no excuse.
so what? Did you not believe her? Right.
Right. The moment that he, like, exactly, it's like you don't know this address. She's, like it's her house. Yeah, they should have just been like dragged out.
Wasn't the guy saying something about he wanted to shave? I need to shave first, something like that.
Shave? What?
I think that's what I heard. I could be wrong, but that's what I think that they one of the guys was saying. Privilege at its best. I mean, would you if you broke into someone's house, would you be there arguing with the policeman, telling that you want to shave or whatever? I mean, when you get down on the floor and
Yeah, were there two guys who broke in, or was it just?
There were two. It says 2 1.
Two guys, right? Yeah. I mean, what if?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine how she's going to feel about living there? I
Right,
mean, that's going to be scary for her, knowing that someone broke into her house.
Right.
That's madness.
Also,
that's madness. Did you hear about the woman?
Yeah.
It's madness. The police only. It's double standard. It's always going to be double standard. It's always going to be double standard. Just briefly, did you hear about the other? I mean, this is something that's so bad. The black woman that I think she had to pay extra for service fee for the American
Airlines.
Right. And they charged her as African American service fee.
Right.
Yeah. They're trying to blame the bank, and the bank said, "Well, no, we don't."
To blame the airlines, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the bank. Why would the bank write that down?
Right.
When you get your fees
exactly.
Okay, think about when you get your fees for your bank, for your statement.
Mm-hmm.
The bank can't make that up. How's the bank going to make that up? Right? They did it, and they're trying to blame the bank, but they did it. And I guess for me, I think it was a mistake. They were thinking it, and so they typed it in. That's what I think.
Yeah, they were blaming it on some kind of like coding issue with the way that the computer recognizes.
Nah.
Right.
It's nonsense. Again, they've always got some kind of nonsense or answer for the crap. Own the crap that you do. Own it. You're bad enough to do it. Own it. Even if it's a mistake, own it.
Right. They didn't apologize.
Own it. There's no apology.
Right. Yeah. Shall we take a look at the video?
Yeah.
Tonight, a local woman was at the Charlotte airport paying American Airlines for her bags, but instead, she says the airline charged her for an African-American service charge. Fox 46's Linnea and Lewis live at Charlotte Douglas International tonight. Linnea, you spoke with that woman and the airline about what happened.
The woman tells me that she flies here frequently and even with American Airlines, but to this day, she doesn't understand why the airline hasn't taken responsibility for that racially insensitive bank statement that is tied to their name.
Apologize because it happened and it's hurtful.
Kaitra Bryant says her and her boyfriend's Thanksgiving trip was ruined last year after reading their American Airlines baggage charge.
Saturday, I noticed it. I said, African service charge. And it was just on my cell phone because I was looking at my banking app and I'm like, what is this?
She says they purchased separate flight tickets and even paid separately for their bags. She contacted the airlines immediately.
She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, well, I have a screenshot here on 2 different phones and a computer, and it says it's from American Charlotte. So I want to know, why is it listed this way?
From November to January 5th, Kaitra says she got the runaround. The airlines blaming it on her bank, and the bank blaming it on the airlines.
The bank told American directly, we don't have anything to do with that. When you put something into your system, we charge it as the merchant charges it, and that's it. And to this day, it hasn't changed on either one of our statements.
Fox 46 reached out to American Airlines, and they sent a statement that reads in part, our team members are unable to change text when processing a charge, and we've determined the issue originated with the credit card company and bank issuer. Kaitra says there's no way.
And there's really no justification. We definitely felt targeted because that's an instance of racial bias.
Kaitra is still waiting on a personal statement from the airlines, but she says she hopes this experience shows them that their company needs more training. Reporting live at the Charlotte Douglas Airport, Linnea Lewis, Fox 46.
Tonight, a local...
It shows them that the company is racist. Training. There is no way the credit card company or the bank can do that. Right? Right, the person that typed it in, that's what they typed.
And
they won't
like
own
the
it.
airline's
They won't
not
own
taking any responsibility.
Yeah, they won't own it.
African American Service. What the hell is that?
I have no words. They won't. I mean, how can the credit card company know that, or the bank know that? Do you want? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
They're not making any sense whatsoever, right? And this is not even this is what happens all the time. They get away with the crap. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I would at least like. You would at least expect the airline to reach out to, her, the customer, and then like talk to her and.
But they're saying it's not me, it's not me. But it's
exactly, and it's pointing fingers.
It's as clear as day that it's you. Who else could it possibly be?
African American Service Charge.
Well, I found something last year in the UK, because we don't talk much about the UK, and I do want to, because that's where I'm from, and I really want to also start including incidents that happen in the UK. This is not actually with the police, but it's caused by racism. A firefighter, I believe he's mixed race. Jaden Francos. He was a firefighter, and he was bullied. Right, he told his family about it, and it was bigoted and racial discrimination. And I think he was 21. And last August, he was found. He hung himself in his home because of the pressure of what he was getting, being bullied and singled out.
Was he bullied in his like at his work?
Yeah. Yeah, at his work. And he told his family about it. But the fire department is saying no. Again, they are saying, it wasn't me. Again, it wasn't me.
Right.
So it wasn't we.
Would you put the blame on the fire department or the people? Specific...
if you have a company or a department where you don't tolerate these kind of things, then it won't happen. But if you do tolerate it, then it's going to continue to happen.
Right. Was the department saying like, oh, we didn't know about it?
Yeah. they're saying that there's a video, as you can see. They're saying that there's no history. There's no history of this, or etc. etc. And he felt bullied and singled out. He also felt that, I think, one of the captains also discriminated against him.
So basically, like, at the end of the day, there's no one that's taking accountability for this, right? There's no one that's taking.
They're not, again, they're not taking accountability at all. His mum says that he took his life because he was being bullied and a victim of racism. Right? He's not going to pull that out of it. I'm going to not be nasty. She's not just going to put it out of the air, right? Just like that.
Yeah.
So she's saying that he was training to be a firefighter at Wembley Station. He said he was singled out for being the only person of color, and he was mixed race. He said things got really bad, and he asked not to bring him any Caribbean food because he felt uncomfortable talking about it to the colleagues. I guess they were teasing.
Yeah.
So his mom said at the inquest that she felt he was being unfavorably singled out because he's an ethnic minority. Yeah, he also applied for a transfer, but because he was still in training, he was told that he had to wait 8 months before that could happen. So if you ask for a transfer, wouldn't there be something going on? Wouldn't you even ask? Wouldn't you investigate why he wants to have a transfer? So she also said that he complained. His mom said he complained to her that he was being treated unfairly and made to carry out tasks that were not assigned to him. Right? His mom said that he hated working at Wembley, and he said this verbally to his mom. He accused his crew manager of bullying him.
Have you heard other stories of like this kind of similar stories to this in police departments in the UK as well, like bullying?
You know what? I don't want to lie. I think I have in the past, but it's been and you rarely see. And I've been out of England for like over 20 years, so I'm just going back on my experience, and you rarely saw black firefighters and black policemen, black police people, right? I mean, they existed, but it was very rare that you saw. Now I don't know what it's like. When I went home, I still didn't see, but it's just subjective, so I can't really base it on what I've seen. But when I lived there, there was hardly any of them in high ranked or and if there was probably one, So he sounds like he was really close to his family because he told them, right? I mean, what were they doing to this man, this young man, he felt that he couldn't go on, and he had no history of mental illness. Let's be clear on that. All right, he had no history of mental illness.
I mean, and the thing is that, like, it doesn't sound like the department is doing anything post.
No, it's all,
right?
they're all like, again. If we're looking back at all these three things that we just talked about, the ownership again, right? They don't want to take any ownership right. They're very blatant in their racism, but then when it goes to the next step, right, they don't want to own it.
Right. They don't want to own it. They don't want to do anything to fix it or help. Right.
Yeah, it's always like they say to us, when we talk about slavery, get over it, right? What they say to us, and that tells you how the hell they can tell you to get over something that still affects you today, right? And it shows they're on empathy, they're empathetic, right? And it just shows them for who they are.
The lack
but
of
still
concern and
for us, yes, other cultures, but mainly I feel that it's stronger when it concerns us. It's a hard pill to swallow when you see all these things happening and then them getting away with it, or them just plucking it away like it's nothing. And they can. Who does that? No, it's not. It wouldn't happen. Right? And the woman's child told her all these things. If you look back at, we were talking about the police officer that slammed a child, and how did that commentator, the announcer, how did she make it? She completely ignored the child.
Right. Focusing
Right?
on the
Completely ignored the child, but the focus was on the man.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point.
And how
Yeah, the no
how
record.
and what he does. But
awards.
the fact of the matter is, it's a child. If this was a white child, would she react this way? I really don't think so. She's trying to justify his action by saying the girl went for somebody. She went for, even if she did go for somebody, she didn't touch them. So how is it that a justification of what he did? Would she be trained enough to be able to react in the right way to situations like this when it's a child? It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. So, rest in peace, rest in power, Jaden.
His name was Jaden Francois S.P. If I'm saying it correctly. Right.
What did you call him?
Jaden Francois.
Francos, or is it Francois? I'm not sure it's spelled, but it looks like Francos or Francois.
Francois. I think it's a French name. Yeah, Jaden Francois. He's only 21 too. That is so young. Wow.
21, right?
21. Yeah. Well, what's Oh, so never mind. I read that incorrectly. I was gonna ask what BAME is. Just to clarify, yeah, Black, Asian, and minority ethnicities.
He looks like Francois. Francois.
Francois. That's yeah. Francois Esprit. I can't pronounce it well, but okay. And like, since we're kind of like on the topic of institutions, fire, and police, right? We wanted to talk about the police institution, right? The police.
Well, yeah, police and their racism and where it came from, the history. I mean, we really need to talk about this because nothing's changed since slavery, and I think it's really important to have a look at the first force, the history of the police in America. I think it's really something that we need to talk about.
I think there's a lot of people who say, yeah, I know the police are broken. Let's just enact the reforms that will fix it. But the question for me is, if the police are broken, when did they break? What year in American history did the police break? It seems really trite to say if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it. But nothing illustrates that more than the history of policing.
Policing, in one form or another, has existed since colonial days. In the form of night watches, local sheriffs, and militias. But it wasn't until the 19th century that northern cities such as Boston created modern police departments as we would recognize them today. These northern departments were not the first example of a uniformed, publicly funded law enforcement institution in America.
By the time the northern colonies were afoot in the 17th century, the idea of keeping track of the most valuable asset in the United States, that is, enslaved Africans, animated much of what we'd recognize today as law enforcement.
In the 1700s, the South saw the rise of official, salaried slave patrols, whose task was to capture, control, and brutalize enslaved people.
The initial acts that empower slave patrols and militias were acts that basically empowered all white people to surveil and punish all black people.
These slave patrols were required to serve a tour of duty, usually up to a year. Individuals were compensated for their time, but they were also penalized if they did not show up for their required service.
All white people, including white children, were expected to enforce so-called slave codes. These laws were meant to prevent enslaved people from organizing or rebelling. It was against the law, for example, for enslaved people to leave their plantations, gather without a white person present, learn to read or write, or even defend themselves if attacked by a white person. After the Civil War, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution abolished slavery except as a punishment for a crime.
The South immediately moves to exploit this loophole by passing a series of crime bills known as black codes, which essentially criminalize all forms of black freedom. They criminalize unemployment by adopting these very broad vagrancy laws that essentially criminalize any black person who can't prove that they're working. Any African American who challenges the terms of work, barters or brokers for a better deal, turns down a terrible offer, walks away from an abusive employer or a relationship with a landowner, by definition becomes a vagrant and by definition becomes a criminal. They could then be sold at sheriff's auction back to the very person who had just claimed that they were a criminal by virtue of not accepting a fair labor deal.
This practice of convict leasing earned enormous revenues for the states who lent out their prisoners, and huge profits for the companies using this prison labor in mining, railroads, and other industries. The new laws effectively re-enslaved those who had just gained their freedom and required new police to take over the former duties of the slave patrols.
When you have black people serving in political offices for the first time, when you have black landowners in abundance, when you have black professionals, there are Reconstruction era judges, the stakes are even higher for this everyday performance of black subservience to white domination. It is the police who will ultimately serve that function of reminding black people in many cases their lower status in society.
What we see is that that general way of thinking about race and thinking about disorderly people never really changes. It's kind of woven into the DNA. But it's not just because individual police officers are racist, it's because the institution was literally created to make sure that wealthy and powerful people could extract labor.
Early police departments in the North had a similar goal to control labor, and were notoriously corrupt.
The police functioned as an expression of political elites and powerful, affluent people who essentially wanted poor people to stay in their segregated slum communities. Police often functioned as enforcers of political machines, functioned one step removed from gangs.
Police often worked in the service of business owners who were faced with growing unrest among their labor forces in the wake of mass European immigration and rapid industrialization.
One of the best examples of this is the Pennsylvania State Police. The institutions that precede the Pennsylvania State Police are actually private police forces which are owned by people who are running coal mines. And their job is explicitly to control the workers who are trying to unionize for rights.
The story of policing in the United States is the story of systems meant to protect and serve only a fraction of Americans. It is this history that many of today's activists point to when calling for the defunding or even the abolishment of police.
The cops not protecting us, we gotta protect us.
The ability to police crime or inequality or poverty or races or whatever was the social problem to be solved by law enforcement was always an act of political power and discretion. And it just so happens that African Americans have stood in that position for the longest of any other population.
What the history does is it allows us to decouple the idea of public safety from the idea of police. What actually protects women from rape and from sexual assault, right? What actually stops people in communities, both black and white, from killing each other? What kinds of things actually help people who are mentally ill? Are those things police? And I think very quickly, once you reflect on that, you realize the answer is no. We have to stop saying police are broken. We have to say police are working, and we need to create another institution to do.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw this, it's quite shocking to see how racist the laws were. That
Why?
when the institutions were.
Why? Why is it shocking?
Oh, I mean, just how it carries on and connects to
Oh, you mean the carrying on?
how those racist laws back then are still reflected in how policing is done today. You hear a lot about how the institutions were created by I guess wealthy people, hiring the police to kind of do their work and to capture them. And it's sometimes it feels like it's kind of like that, as with the way that politicians are being funded and lobbied. So it's with those who are in power, they have power to keep that power and to fund their power.
So are you saying that? Are you putting all the blame on the politicians, or what do you mean?
Am I blaming the politicians? Not all of the blame. The politicians are also to blame, but just the people who are running these institutions, I guess they're white people, right?
Exactly, and so the private agencies, right? And if you listen to what he said back in the day, there were the private agencies, right? So there's no change. It's just gone back to exactly what it was, right? The private agencies, getting paying a fee for these getting these prisoners to do the jobs for free and making them billionaires, trillionaires, billionaires.
Here's a question. Let's say someone who hasn't watched this video or doesn't know the history of police, history of the police institution in America. How, if you're telling them, yeah, exactly, myself. If they were to ask, okay, the police was created back then to catch slaves, but how is that connected to the present day?
Because they still catch black people, and they kill them. That's the connection. They still do it, and they get away with it. It's harder to get away with, or is it harder? I don't know. It's harder than when it was back in the day, but they're still getting away with it, and that's what they're doing, right? That's why the world was appalled at what happened with George Floyd, because they've been asleep and they're still asleep, right? That's why the response of the world was to march and to make the voice heard, to demand racism stop.
Do you think if police departments were asked okay, what is your objective? Is your objective to catch slaves? I don't think the police departments would say yeah.
Of course, they're not going to say that. They can't say, come on, really? They can't ask them that question, right? They've always. It's like when you're in a job, and they say that it's really difficult. People are saying to me, it's really difficult to prove. What was that? Something else. What was that? And I say it's really difficult to prove. Oh my God, it's about racism, and I think it's really difficult to prove. Oh, what was that? What was it? What was it that I was? And for me, they say this, right, as a deterrent for people who want to fight it. Right? It's really difficult to prove racism. They've got to come out and say to you, we don't want you here because you're black, right? When initially people aren't going to say that, right? But you know it, that they don't want you there, in their clubs, in their bars, in their establishments, in their jobs, in their offices, right? So the deterrent for a black person or a person of color is for them to say, it's really hard to prove, right? And because it's something that's embedded in all their laws, in their jobs, it's something that's embedded there. And the thing is right, black people are constantly having to adjust themselves to adapt to what white people want them to be. And even when they do that, they're still ridiculed. They're still looked down on. It doesn't really matter what we do, right? And like he said, it was never broken. This is what it's been. This was the plan. The name has changed. The job has changed a little, but the plan is, and they're still doing it. It's in our faces. Has anything really changed? Who are the targets?
Do you think? I wonder. Do police departments have like, they have quotas, right, of people they need to catch?
Yeah, there's a video that's out. Maybe we can show that next time.
Of the white
There was
police
some
officer, right, in
black
Philly.
policemen and Asian police and Latinos. Also, they were talking about that you have to meet a certain quota, and some of them are forced to arrest, but they didn't do it. They quit. Right. So why would you say you got to arrest a certain amount of people in order to meet? Why wouldn't you want peace? Wouldn't you want the police to be out there and the streets are peaceful? Why would you give them a target to get?
Right.
The whole point of them being
they're
there
rewarded
is
for
to create peace, right?
Yeah.
To keep the peace.
Right. Yeah, it's like, the cop has. I remember watching that video. It's like the cop has a choice. It's like, okay, do I have to reach these numbers, but so that means I can't use this time to be talking to people and building relationships, right? Because then that just means less time for reaching that quota.
But that's why it's put in place, so that they're not empathetic to anybody. That they just, well, more so. There's something that I want to talk about, but I want to wait till we talk about something that she said that made a lot of sense. The thing, and my thing is that they don't see us as equals, and they don't see us as humans, and that's why they kill us like we're nothing, and that's the truth. This is something that I really want to talk about, and it rings a lot of truth with the Sheriff Clyde Kerr III. Who took his life.
Right, suicide.
43 years old, and I think he had 2 children, I think. So he said, "This is it for me. I'm doing my part." Black cop denounces police brutality, racism before killing himself outside of the sheriff's office. All right, so this is on February 5th at 12:52 a.m.
He killed himself outside the sheriff's office?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
He just finished his job as well. So he talks about his experiences in the military and the police, and he heavily criticizes the current operate, right? And he specifically calls the police on the treatment of Black people.
January 31st, a little bit after 1:30, last Sunday. So, here's what it is. I was kind of hoping to see the Super Bowl, this one especially, because we got 2 Purple Knights actually playing against each other. Mr. Tyrann Mathieu and Leonard Fournette. Hope y'all go forth and conquer, and I don't think it's happenstance that everything is going on at this particular time. So I don't know, possibly, maybe if y'all want to, you should. Like I say, take a knee, but you need to figure something out, because this is a moment that can be seized. I think that it should be. So, but yeah, man. I've had enough of all of this nonsense of serving a system that does not give a damn about me or people like me, or I mean, just for about life in general. And this is my statement. If this isn't something to state that this killing that's going on, especially by the police, which I am, I can't abide by this no more. I'm not having anything to do with this nonsense anymore. Call me what you want, try to discredit me. I have been a stellar deputy in this 5+ years that I've been there. My last eval's been sent, it's copied to somebody. I can't be discredited. Never so much as one write-up for maybe some reports being late. None whatsoever. So it can't be said that I was a shammer or anything like that, or I wasn't pulling my weight. And just for contextual purposes, I just want y'all to understand where and what I'm coming from. My entire life has been in service of other people. And it's just dawned on me that this time, as of now, needs to be seized because you don't really give a damn about us. That is the truth. That is the truth. I've served with a full heart in the military. After that, got back into law enforcement, and you have no idea how hard it is to put a uniform on in this day and age with everything that's going on. None. And listen, y'all entrust me to safeguard your little ones, your small ones, the thing that's most precious to y'all, and I did that well. Y'all trusted me with that. I've had security clearance in the military. That's verifiable. If I was untrustworthy, if I was a threat, would they let me guard the U.S. Embassy in Kabul? Which I did. I trained Iraqi police, Afghan national police, and that's not it. But I wouldn't have been put in a position of that if they thought I was a threat. But that has allowed me to see the inner working of things. And this is a demonic system, and it's not anything I can continue to serve and want to be a part of. And this is not right. This is no form of justice. Let's go down the list. Botham shot in his own apartment. How that work? How does that work? Chilling on his couch. I don't give a damn if he had weed in the apartment. You're gonna execute somebody for that? Oh no, y'all are good for that. You break up families for a plant, this war on drugs and this nonsense. But now it's starting to get legal because big pharmaceutical companies stand to make billions off of it, and they paid off the lobbyists, who in turn have started ushering the way it needs to go for them. The countless people who are doing time behind that. How do you even make amends for that? You can't. You can't. This Floyd, man, Breonna, this shit is not right. I'm telling you, it's not. If this feels right to you as a person, there's something is wrong with you. This is the furthest thing from right. This is the manner of wickedness that bro. And you're getting away with it. When is enough going to be enough for people? Huh? Seriously. Y'all are radicalizing people, and then when they buck and they want to go against the system because it's not for them, you come down on them with a hammer. I don't understand this. I do not understand this. It's getting to the point now, let me tell y'all something. Again, I'm gonna go back into it. I'm gonna be wrapping up pretty soon. None of this is happenstance. Do you understand me? None of this is happenstance at all. If you think it's possible that all of this is happenstance with everything that's happened in this immediate area, no. Pellerin, I don't know all the inner workings of that, but between that and just, man, Listen, I understand we have a tough job, but we signed up for this. We need help. Because we deal with the bottom rung of society. It does not give us an excuse to just do whatever we want, and that's what we're doing, and we're not being held accountable. And it's just allowed. Not per se in the environment that I'm in, because I don't do normal police work anymore, but I've done it. Look, I was on duty the night Middlebrook got killed. That's hard enough to process when you hear that call come out. I was posted up in front of Troop I, setting up a perimeter, and then they called him. Went back to my normal zone, which was south, Youngsville Highway, see the vehicles going by, about to make that notification. Get another call, another murder. All the stuff that took place that night, the guys who were south with me, we got a letter of recognition because we did our job. That was just one night for us. Police officers need mental health, because you can't tell me what happened in Milwaukee, that should have been caught. That should have been caught. The dude was like an automaton. He didn't have any, it was just completely apathetic. That should have got caught. That is a failure of leadership. And it's a systemic thing. Look at it like this. He was the senior most person there, okay? The freshest person there, the rookie, he was like 2 weeks out of FTO. He's not going to check somebody that's got 10 plus years and say something. He thinks it's the norm. He's just going to go along with it. And that is the indoctrination and everything. It hasn't happened here. It hasn't been around me. But I see how it happens. So all this code of blue silence, no, sorry. I'm going to be on the right side of this one. And I would rather be considered crazy and whatever they were going to say about me, oh, he was under the influence of something. No, that is an easy cop-out just to say that I am. Because that will then allow a dialogue not to be started. It needs to be talked about. This is insane, about to go off the rails. And I'm not doing it anymore. Loved my job. Loved it. Loved every aspect of it. Finally found something I could call my own and made it my own. And but this is bigger than that. And I'm not gonna do that. There's no way I can just be like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. No, this is a very big deal to me. This is a tipping point. And just to continue to think that we can just do what we've been doing and just hitting the status quo like that, and people, no, none whatsoever. This is wrong. It needs to be resisted against, and you have an obligation and a duty to do that. Because if not, you're complacent. As I would be complacent if I continue just doing what I am doing and not saying anything. I've tried to bring things to people's attention, little small things, but it's a system, and I'm a small cog in this whole big machine. But I'm jumping off. No. Come with me. I don't know. I ain't gonna be around for that. That is on y'all. But I can tell you this. There's more good people than bad. Y'all need to figure that shit out real quick, because it's the truth. It is the absolute truth. And if y'all ain't got each other's back, then they're gonna continue to divide and conquer and just sow dissension and everything between people who actually probably make it be out a good ally. But this whole system, this thing that was built on free slave labor, and there's no way this can't implode on itself. We can't continue on. You won't even give us reparations. That's the thing about it. Y'all thinking about money. It's about being decent. And people are so busy calling themselves Republicans and Democrats, they don't even just be a decent person anymore. That is sad. This is a sad state of affairs. We're leaving our children, and we're wondering why they're wilding out, trying to have augmentation and reassignments at 7, 8 years old. This is preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. And y'all are letting them do it like it's cool. Because you want to be able to get away with yours and be like, oh, well, they're doing that. No, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. So with that said, no sense in griping unless you actually have some things that you can think that it could probably be fixed. There needs to be more civilian oversight, like an advisory committee. I think they need to have term limits, whether they be appointed or elected, a certain amount of hours for being in a ride-along required. Scenario familiarization, put them through scenarios, because the general public doesn't know what we go through. This is it. That night I described to you, that was a bad night for me. That was a bad night for me, just to carry on this. But I processed it. Police officers are exposed to the debris in the bottom rung of society, and then they're expected to keep a stiff chin. It's not affecting them. It is affecting your psyche. I'm telling you it is. You cannot be exposed to that and not expect it to manifest itself in some way. Nobody calls the police when they're having a good day. It's the truth, right? Domestics got robbed, something like that. Something you need somebody in a uniform. Your bad day, that might be the first call on my shift that I'm about to have another maybe half a dozen of those. And I'm lucky if they're not as severe as this one. It might be worse. Anyway, so I think it needs to be, along with this committee, they need to have standardized training, like whether that be an abbreviated type of academy, but they need to be familiar with procedures. And they need to be familiar with statutes as per a specific state. But this is what I'm saying, like this needs to happen. It needs to almost be based like how everybody was doing their own thing for training before the San Jose model came out. It needs to be structured like that, and it needs to be recognized accordingly, like across the board. Mental health and wellness, they definitely need that. Look, we need, I don't know how we're gonna do it. We get people get one psyche valve or just checkup, and that's in the hiring process. And some people have squeaked through, because I know some cops that should not be cops, honestly. They just, I don't think they have the makeup for it. And they're gonna say, oh, he did. No, this not even night and day. Whether it be, I don't think annual is good, because a lot can happen a year, whether that be semi-annual or quarterly. It needs to happen. And it's in the stigma that is surrounding it needs to be lifted too, because that is insane. We need help. People need help. It's okay to say you need help. You get exposed to a lot going through life. But only life matters. That's it. You get exposed to a lot. I understand that. I've been exposed to a lot. Peer evaluations, and that's not something as far as the along the lines of like trying to like be vindictive, but kind of the maybe anonymous red card, blue card thing like we had in going through the section. More transparency. I understand certain things can't be divulged, but the public doesn't trust us. We are losing the public's trust. We are losing the public's trust. We serve at the pleasure of the public. You lose that, you lose your right and authority to govern. And that is happening. You can't do wicked stuff and they be like, okay, well, cool, we're just doing our jobs. Who are you doing your job for? That's not doing your job. That's a cop-out. That is a cop-out. This is something for me. I thought would be better just to add in development and expansion of like an Explorer type program. I know they've had it before, but kids say they want to be cops, but I mean, we're not giving them a reason to, do it. And we need to foster more mentorship. And it needs to be like more of some kind of a program to help kids stay on a scare straight. Let's bring that back. Let them see what it's like. But also give them a healthy option and just get them out and just like get them out of their normal hoods or whatever it is. They don't know what else is out there. What we're showing them is the only option we're giving. And then what do you expect? Listen, I'm wrapping it up because I've rambled way too long. Didn't even touch on half the stuff I wanted to, but yeah, this needs to stop. This needs to stop. This is my protest against police brutality and everything else that comes along with it in this broken wicked, worldly system that does not give a damn about people. I don't know what it cares about, but it don't care about us. It truly don't. It does not. It does not. So I hope y'all do something with that. And then let it not have. No, there's no way that this and the people who have been in touch with me this past week and all this stuff, it has been confirmation that this is. I mean, it can't. There's no other way that this is possibly supposed to not happen. It is. It was preordained for this to happen. Regardless of what you may think, and that's on you. I know what I gotta do. Search your heart, find out what you gotta do. Everybody has a different role to play. This part, this one, this is mine.
Man, it seemed like he just went through a lot, and he reached this tipping point with the whole system.
Yeah, he feels like it sounds like he wanted to be a good cop, but because of the things are going on, it's preventing him. And not just that, it's what everybody's been saying. They don't get checked for the mental status, and it's how can you not do that?
Right. Yeah, it was interesting. Like he was just pointing the fact that like every cop, like the cops, they deal with like like the worst of that, like the worst things that a day can bring, and then like having to do that on every shift, every hour, and then having that, like, how can you expect that to not take a toll on you, on your mental health, and then to not have any assistance or support or checkups like that. He was saying that like what they get annual.
He said that the checkup on the. He said when you enlist into the police, you get one. That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay, never mind.
That's what he said. Right? That's
Wow.
what I
Sorry, I missed. Yeah.
But did you notice how he also went back to the history of the police? We've already showed already. He went back to that history of how it began, right? You've made a very fair statement about everything, and including it was the treatment of Black people.
Yeah, when it's like if you're given, like, if your job is to reach these quotas, you're gonna try to find like the closest target, right? And if you have those racist prejudices within yourself, then that's gonna bias what you see. That's gonna give you like tunnel vision, and you're gonna target, or those targets are gonna pop up.
He even said some people got through that he thought shouldn't even got through, right? So what's his test? What kind of test is this that they can get past it? What is it? Who's developed this test? When is it renewed? Did they check on it? Does it work? How valid is it?
Apparently not valid enough because there's a lot of bad apples.
Because we can follow into the next thing. I mean, rest in peace, Clyde the third. Yeah, rest in peace.
So he
I know it was a long video, but it was really important to hear what he said, and I'm really sorry that he took his life. But I do think it's good to go on to based on what we are here for regarding the police and the racism towards Black people. The next thing, so it's saying that there's clear evidence that sending officers of different demographic profiles lead to different treatment, right?
Okay. So
that's common sense.
Yeah, Blacks and Hispanics, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, and it was saying that Blacks and Hispanics is in Chicago, right? I think it's Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chicago. So Blacks and Hispanics
carry out fewer stops and arrests, and they use less force compared to their white colleagues under the same working conditions. This is what the new research has suggested. So there's a lot of evidence there about how white policemen treat Black people. There's a lot of evidence, and all they do is sweep it under the rug and act like it doesn't exist. It's just like we just said, like with that child. I mean, because this is the theme, right? The child that was slammed, right? They sweep it under the rug, like they focus on the policeman, right? it's like the black woman there, the two white men came into a house. They're sweeping it all under the rug like it's nothing, right? It's what you can say something.
Yeah. Oh, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm wondering, like, okay, do you think one of the solutions, there's many things, but one of them is to reduce the number of white police officers and increase the number of BAME officers, like BAME?
What BAME officers?
Yeah, like black, Asian.
I don't really like that word because
Yeah,
black
yeah.
is not a I really don't like it. I mean, you feel quite free to use it if you want to. I'm not. I'm of African descent, so I was black. I was blacker. I call myself black because of my color, but it's not my culture. How does it get a black culture? So why is it called BAME?
I was just say, like, how about like colored then?
Pardon?
How about colored?
What are you talking about?
So I'm saying, like, do you think one of the solutions is to reduce the number of white police officers and increase the number of, I guess, like non-white officers?
Did you say colored? Or did you say colored?
Yeah, colored.
Why? Why are you saying? Why would you say? Why would you say colored though? If you define the word colored, what does that mean?
Or I don't know. I'm that's what I'm asking you. Like, what term?
Yeah, colored is not. It's a derogatory because we're not colored. The definition of that word, right, is many different colors. So therefore, we're not seen as humans. Right? Are you many different colors? Am I many different colors? Right? So we don't use that word. We don't use it at all. And this is an education to you. And I know that you're trying to find a word, but we're of African origin, and we're not part of. What do you mean by BAME? Black Asian. So A is for the Asian, right? But what black? What do you mean by black? It's what we say. We're black. That's our color. We're black. It's not a culture. So
I wonder where that term comes from. But...
What colored?
Oh no, BAME.
I think it's from England. I think that's where it's. I think that's where it originated. I'm just talking off the top of my head, but I think that's where it originated.
Okay. I guess going back to like the question then. How about what if I said like just non-whites, like decreasing whites and increasing non-whites?
Well, they say people of color, which means all of us who are not white, right?
Yeah.
So that's a safer word to use. People of color. Okay. Right. So it just means. I mean, it's a crazy word too. I think. Well, I think it's a safer word. People of color. That includes us, includes Latinos, includes Asian, because we're people of color, right?
Okay. Yeah. So what do you think about that? So like decreasing white officers and then.
I just don't think that we should have any officers. I think the community should run it. I know it sounds. I don't know. Maybe.
No, say what you want to say.
I just think that because we take care. We always say that. It takes a community, right, for a kid. Right, to raise a child, it takes a community. So I think that's really important, and I just don't think the police should be in the communities, especially when they're not even from there as well.
It's like,
right?
I just have to do with our business.
You shouldn't ask me. I don't think there should be police.
Right.
Because of its history. And that's what I think. I think the communities should vote who are like, that kind of like law enforcement in a sense, right? And also got the people that oversee them, that if they make a step out, I think a community can handle that better than the police in itself. The police can be, they can maybe be there for something else, but not for the community.
It kind of makes, maybe this is correct me if this is a bad analogy, but it makes me think of like I'm imagining like I'm having a family dinner with my family, and then a police officer is like, oh, there's like a big gathering of people here, so like I'm required to be here to survey you guys. I'm like, what? No, why? This is our family. This is our community. We don't need you. We don't want you here.
You don't understand it. And certain things.
Why are you here in our family?
They don't understand it. So why are they there? You have no understanding of what we do. Things that we do might be something that you think it's offensive or whatever, right? But why are they in the community when they have no knowledge of it?
Let the communities handle themselves.
No, but that's just because they want to rule, and that's what it means to me. Yeah, and I mean, he did talk about which we talked about repatriation, and I think that because he said that people think it's money. Yes, some people do, but some people don't, like I do. I think it's about helping people because, you know, Black people are way behind because of what slavery done to them. And so, as in, it's not about money, it's about making sure that we go through college, making sure that our schooling's paid for, making sure, stuff like that. Right? Because that's what we need. And changing how people think. And like I said, making racism against the law, because that's something that was born of slavery and in slavery and during slavery and because of slavery. And it's still here. And as long as it's still here, it's saying that they haven't really moved because there's still racism.
Right.
And if they outlaw racism, don't you think it will stop? Why don't you outlaw racism?
I can imagine that, like, I can imagine, like, if it, like if we lived in that ideal world where we could outlaw it, there would still be people who, how do I say it, like, you know, they'll still be racist, but
yeah, but don't get it mixed up with prejudice and racism, right? Racism is when it affects, like, in school, in business, in jobs, in housing. This is what I'm talking about, right? People are always going to be prejudiced, right? But racism is if you're in America, it's their thing. It's a white thing.
So maybe we can take some of, like, examples that we went through today, like, for example, like American Airlines, or the school, or, for example, the hiring of police officers. Like, how would making racism as a law, I guess, like, make those situations, like, how would they apply to those situations then? What kind of change
I don't know.
I'm
just, this is what I think that should happen in order to stop it. So, and in education, I can talk about education. Let's talk about education. And in jobs, they're very sly. But in education, what's there in education, right? It's all about white people and all about what they've done. And all it does is glamorize them, and they're the heroes, they're the saviors, everything. So that there is a lie in itself. They don't even talk about what they did to Black people, right? And as Jane Elliott said, the schools are indoctrinated, and so that's part of racism, right?
Yeah.
It's systematic. So the system has to change. And if we outlaw racism, the system has to change. Education has to change. Housing has to change. So the way people think will have to change. We're all humans.
Yeah.
You're better than me, I'm better than you.
When it comes to repatriations, like, how, you know, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you know what?
That's something that has got to be discussed within the Black community internationally, because we all have our own different views of what that should be, and I can't base it on what I think. So I'm only basing it on what I think. So I can't just talk for myself. There's a whole community. Parts of Africa have been affected, right? If not all, right? Jamaica, the Caribbeans, right? Brazil. So it's for everyone. It's not just for America or England or France, etc. Right? It's something where us as a community, we have to get representatives, the people that we can trust in, that can represent us, and discuss what is it? What is repatriation for us? Right? And I know that there are some groups in England that already have, but I think it's something that we all, as an international community, we need to discuss, because we've been held back in a lot of ways because of racism, slavery, all of that.
Gotcha. Maybe now, just the update on Floyd.
Derek Chauvin. This is the man that made it George Floyd. There's some crap going on earlier on, like I think it was last year, I want to say September, where his lawyer tried to get him to accept a plea deal for, was it third-degree murder? Yeah, which would have meant that it would have violated his civil rights, Floyd's civil rights. They did go to, what was his name, that what's his name? The Trump guy. William Barr.
Okay.
Because he pleaded guilty. Sorry, Derek Chauvin. He pleaded guilty to third-degree murder last year.
Right.
And William Barr, who was a U.S. Attorney General at the time, didn't accept the deal. So it was by Chauvin and his legal team.
Why didn't Barr accept the plea?
Because he said that it's going to cause unrest between the people, which I was quite surprised that he said that. Because so basically, if he got this deal, he would have made sure to avoid potential federal charges, including violating George Floyd's civil rights. Right. So if they say, oh yeah, we're going to agree to you taking this plea deal, but Barr said no, because it's going to cause a lot of we're going to be a lot of repercussions from it, because he would have gotten off basically. And he didn't want any more social unrest and further eruptions.
Do you think he made the right move here?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, he did say that the investigation into into George Floyd's death it wasn't far long gone enough for them to even give that deal.
Oh, okay.
And protesters would say that Chauvin's deal was too lenient, so it was dropped in October.
Okay, right. People were pushing for the first degree, right? Yeah.
So as we know, he's been charged with second degree murder, unintentional murder, and second degree manslaughter. And the officers who was with him, Alexander, I can't say, is it the Chinese word? J. Alexander. Can you say that?
Kung. I don't know. Kung.
And Tao Thao.
Okay.
They're all charged with aiding and abetting second degree murder.
Yeah, aiding and abetting.
And all the officers, of course, we know have been fired. We said that the jury selection for Chauvin's trial will begin March 8th. Right. And the others will begin on the 23rd of August. And that was, I found that online. That's what they call Grey 2021.
Usually these court processes take a long time. Do you think these were slow or about right?
I think it's a lot to do with the coronavirus as well. This is so. I'm not even going to talk about it being too slow. It's a lot to do with the coronavirus and all what's happening in America with the weather and everything. So as long as this man gets charged, I hope to God that they don't. They can't.
Well, here's a question. What do you think about this judge? How do I say this? Like court decisions that are made because of fear of reaction from the public or fear of reaction from society or something. It's like whatever that may be, but basically they made.
I've never seen that going in the way of Black people.
Okay.
I don't know. No, because there's been riots because of it, and I don't think it ever swayed. I can't agree with that. I don't believe that when it concerns Black people that the decision sways. I don't believe that.
So what if the judge, he made that decision not because he thought that this Chauvin guy, right, Derek Chauvin, he was guilty of first or second degree murder, but because of his fear of the reaction from the public. What if that was his intention behind?
So you're saying that he doesn't give him. No, repeat that again.
So this Attorney General William Barr, he decided not to accept the third degree.
Yeah, but it wasn't just because of the fear of the public. It's also it's unfair.
Right.
It's unfair. He would be lenient. The decision.
Gotcha.
Lenient. It wasn't just. There's many different aspects of why he decided. So it wasn't. It was also because of other things. Yes. The people, but also other things. It's lenient. It's unfair.
Yeah. I'm just imagining that there's probably a bunch of cases where there are judges who kind of do that, who succumb to like the fear of public reaction, rather than like, you know, actually siding with like the injustice of their decision.
Yeah.
But in this case, yeah, I guess he saw that, you know, the third degree was just not.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's lenient.
Okay. So they're gonna be on trial. Okay, good.
Then we want to yeah. So that's next month, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah. Okay. So that was
Andre
Hill. Yeah.
So the police has been charged with murder of Andre Hill. Police officer. Sorry, I said the police. A police officer.
Right. And Andre Hill was the man in his garage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Adam Coy was indicted on the murder charge of from the grand jury following investigations by the Attorney General's office. And this was on December 22nd at 1 a.m. So somebody had called them out. And in the footage, you can see the police body cam showed that Hill emerging from a garage and holding up a cell phone in his left hand, and seconds before he was fatally shot by Coy. There's no audio because Coy hadn't activated the body camera, which he should have, an automatic. So if you look back, you could also see this the feature captured in the shooting without the audio.
Sometimes I kind of wish there was like, if you don't turn on your body cam, it's like that's an automatic.
It's murder. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
murder. Yeah.
Okay.
So in the moments after he was shot, the body cam footage shows two other Columbus officers rolling Hill over and handcuffing before leaving him. That was just crazy, right?
Not providing any.
And none of them, they offered any first aid or anything according to the footage that was, according to the footage, none of them offered any first aid or anything, even though Andre Hill was barely moving. So let's see what happens. I think the other two cops should have been charged as well, not just Coy.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, don't you think?
Right, because they were complacent. They didn't. They were just like
they
the
just
cases.
They didn't. While he was on the floor and handcuffed him.
Yeah.
I think he was dead, right? But what does that say?
Yeah, like you shoot someone and then you don't provide any medical assistance to them. He didn't have a gun. Unreal.
Yeah, and we're going to do the update with Breonna Taylor about they showed the video. Actually, it's really powerful.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Walk by yourself. This is our city. This is our town.
For months in Kentucky, residents outraged by the killing of Breonna Taylor campaigned for the police officers who shot her to face charges.
Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Brett Hankison.
In September, a grand jury investigation indicted one officer for shooting into a neighbouring apartment, and no one for killing Taylor.
Is that the decision of the grand jury? I will grant the motion and assign bond in the amount of $15,000 full cash and issue a warrant.
Is that it? Is that the only chocolate? It can't be good. It can't be good.
No one has been held accountable. This is injustice, and this is the start clock for the next level of our protest.
What happened in the final minutes of Breonna Taylor's life? A full telling of that story has been impeded because none of the 7 police officers who raided her apartment used body cameras, a violation of police policy. But with the recent release of thousands of documents and images collected during 3 investigations, the Times initiated a fresh examination of the case. We used crime scene photos to create a precise model of Taylor's apartment. We forensically mapped out and retraced the first bullet fired by Taylor's boyfriend and the 32 bullets that police shot in return through windows, walls and ceilings. Using interviews officers gave to investigators, we charted their movements as they carried out the raid. And we analysed hours of 911 calls, grand jury proceedings and footage by the SWAT team that arrived after the shooting. Members of the grand jury have accused Kentucky's Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, of shielding the officers involved from homicide charges.
Our investigation found that Mattingly and Cosgrove were justified in their use of force.
Boom, 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 boom.
Sergeant Mattingly may have been justified in returning fire when he's fired upon, but our new analysis paints a more complicated picture about how this raid was compromised from beginning to end. We'll outline the flawed intelligence and tactical mistakes of a hodgepodge team of officers, their failure to properly announce their presence at Taylor's, the chaos and excessive use of force that ensued.
There's another hole right below the clock.
And we'll explore the damning analysis of an experienced SWAT commander who was called to the scene after the shooting.
We just got the feeling that night that something really bad happened.
The focus of the police investigation on March 13th is not Taylor's apartment, but properties 10 miles away in West Louisville.
Metro Police! Hands behind your back, boss. We're executing a search warrant. Come out!
Where dozens of SWAT and police officers arrest an ex-boyfriend of Taylor's and his associates, and seize evidence including drugs. These officers are wearing their body cameras, and they carry out the raid safely and without incident. What the SWAT team doesn't know is that at this time, a hastily assembled team of narcotics officers is about to raid Taylor's home across town. They suspect her ex-boyfriend keeps cash or drugs there, but their intel is poor. They don't know she has a new boyfriend, and they think she lives alone. When 7 officers begin the raid at 12:40 a.m., they notice the lights are off, except for the flicker of a TV in a bedroom.
The light on the bedroom, the TV. I remember seeing it lit up blue, or when we pulled up.
Suggesting they know where Taylor is. In less than 3 minutes, she would be fatally shot. Inside, Taylor had dozed off while watching a movie with her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. Adjacent is the bedroom of Taylor's sister, but she's not home. A hallway from the bedrooms leads to a living area, and the apartment's entrance is in this breezeway. The only light is this lamp opposite her door, where now the police begin to stack. In this reconstruction, we hear the official testimonies given by the 2 officers nearest the door, Mattingly and Nobles, Cosgrove, who's providing cover, and Hoover and Hankinson beside them. And we'll hear from neighbours and Kenneth Walker, who was interviewed by police right after the shooting.
When we all got up in line, I knocked on the door, banged on it.
Just as Mattingly begins to knock, a man emerges from the apartment directly above. He doesn't live there, but is picking up his child after finishing work.
The door right there, that's why the babysitter leave. So I came to pick up my little girl.
A squabble with Detective Brett Hankinson ensues, and already the team seems on edge.
I remember Brett extending his gun saying, "Get back in your apartment, get back in your apartment." Brett was a little bit worked up. I remember looking at Brett saying, "Brett, relax. Brett, just relax, relax."
The man retreats inside. The police are supposed to be conducting a knock and announce raid, but that's not what Mattingly says happens at first.
We didn't announce the first couple because our intent was to give her plenty of time to come to the door.
Inside, Taylor wakes up.
So it's a loud bang at the door. She pops up out of her sleep. It scared her to death. Me too. Like, who is that?
Banged on the door, no response. Banged on it again, no response. At that point, we started announcing ourselves.
Whether the police announce themselves clearly enough is a critical issue in this story that we'll return to later on. Not knowing who's at the door this late, Walker grabs his licensed handgun.
Another knock at the door. She's like, who is it? Loud at the top of her lungs. No response. So I'm like, what the heck?
They rush to get dressed and walk toward the door.
We never even made it, like, mid-hallway. But as loud as we were screaming to say who it is, I know whoever would be on the other side of the door could hear us.
Outside, some of the police do hear Taylor.
I can hear somebody inside. I kept telling John, I can hear her.
But after knocking and waiting for around 45 seconds, they decided they've given her enough time to respond and rammed the door open.
The last time, I just said, let's just hit it. And that's when we did the, police search warrant.
We'll show here what the police and Walker describe seeing next.
And I hit it. After the third hit, it flew open. And that's when it hit the fan.
As we're coming to the door, like, comes off the hinges, like an explosion.
The officers now make a tactical mistake. Mattingly steps into the doorway and puts himself in what police describe as the fatal funnel, a position vulnerable to gunfire and hard to move from.
I could see down the hallway, and there's the male and a female, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, almost like they were together.
The apartment is lit only by the breezeway light that's coming from behind Mattingly and the faint glare of the TV in Taylor's bedroom.
You can't see anybody, though. It was dark. There was no lights.
Thinking it's an intruder, Walker aims low, shoots once, and hits Mattingly in the thigh.
I feel like I aimed down because I wasn't, of course, I don't need to kill anybody. So I just let off one shot.
Mattingly immediately returns fire.
I got 4 rounds off, and it was like boom, 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 boom.
Then all of a sudden there's a whole lot of shots.
Mattingly fires 2 more rounds when he falls and takes cover. Almost at the same time, Cosgrove moves in and fires, stepping on Mattingly in the process. He has now also put himself in the fatal funnel, and although he's shooting, he appears to have no idea what's happening.
I see blinding, vivid, white light and blackness at the same time. I don't hear any gunfire at all, ever. And I did not have any pain, sensation, or any recollection that I'm firing.
He continues shooting blindly until he runs out of ammunition, a total of 16 rounds.
If you told me I didn't fire a gun, I'd be like, okay, I believe you.
In response to Walker's shot, Mattingly and Cosgrove together fire 4 shots into a chair, cupboards, and a stove in the kitchen. 2 bullets go into the ceiling and pass through the living room in the apartment above, where the man, his 2-year-old daughter, and babysitter waited. 3 more shots go into the living room wall to the right, and the officers fire 13 rounds down the hallway where Taylor and Walker stood. Taylor is shot 6 times on both sides of her body, in the abdomen and chest, her arm and leg, and twice in her foot. In all, these 2 officers fired 22 rounds in less than a minute. An FBI ballistics report found that both of them shot Taylor, and that one of the 16 rounds Cosgrove fired was the lethal bullet.
We both dropped to the ground, but I just hear her screaming, and
Thinking they're under attack, some of the officers flee when they hear a pause in shooting.
There was a little bitty moment of no shots. I was like, here's the time to go, and then it all started up again.
We don't know the precise sequence of events, but Detective Hankinson runs to the front.
I can hear the firing as I'm making the corner. I can see the flashes, the muzzle flashes.
But the only ones shooting are police. Even though all the curtains are drawn, Hankinson blindly fires 5 bullets through the patio windows.
My only option was to return fire, and I did that to the muzzle flashes.
He moves and fires 5 more rounds through the bedroom window of Taylor's sister, who isn't home. 2 bullets fly over Walker and Taylor, but none hits them. The bullets that go into the living area pass over Taylor's sofa and kitchen table and smash her clock. 3 penetrate the wall and enter her neighbour's apartment. Those bullets also smash the kitchen table, hit a wall, and shatter the patio doors at the rear. A pregnant woman, her son, and partner were home. Hankinson has been charged with wantonly endangering their lives. In total, the police fire 32 bullets, penetrating almost every room in Taylor's apartment. They hit saucepans, cereal boxes, and smash into her shower. They puncture shoes, shatter cleaning equipment, and land in her sister's clothing. And, 3 minutes after police came to search her home, a fatally wounded Taylor is lying on the ground.
I'm just panicking, and I'm telling somebody, I'm yelling help, because she's right here bleeding, and nobody's coming, and I'm just confused and scared, and I feel the same right now. That's it.
Months later, when Attorney General Daniel Cameron presented the charges against Hankinson and said that Mattingly and Cosgrove's actions were justified, he emphasised that police did properly announce themselves.
Evidence shows that officers both knocked and announced their presence at the apartment.
But actually, the evidence is far from clear. In 911 calls immediately after the shooting, Taylor's neighbours don't know police are carrying out a raid.
Please get a police out here. They are shooting bad. Something's going on next door, and there's bullet holes all the way through the wall, through our glass. I have a 5-year-old in here, so something needs to be explained to me.
And in statements police took afterwards, none of Taylor's neighbours heard the officers announce. This apartment's patio door was open.
I mean, I was completely unaware that it was cops.
2 teenagers in this apartment heard a commotion, but didn't hear police announce through their open window, their mom said.
They told me that nothing was said, that they just beat on the door.
I said, so y'all don't know if it was them? She was like, they didn't say nothing. They just beat on the door.
And the family who lived directly above Taylor also heard nothing.
Before the gunshots come out, did you hear anything?
Conversations or anything like that? People talking? No.
In their statements and in interviews with The Times, over a dozen neighbours say they did not hear the police. Attorney General Cameron's assertion rests on the accounts of police officers and a single witness, Aaron Sarpy, the man collecting his daughter that night and who saw the police when he came outside. In his first interview with investigators, Sarpy was asked what he heard when he went back inside.
Did you ever hear anyone identify themselves as police?
No, nobody identified themselves.
Months later, he told police his memory was foggy, but that he thought officers did announce. And beyond what the police said, this critical grand jury conclusion rested on his entirely inconsistent account. After the raid, the scene outside is chaos. Officers tend to Mattingly, but an ambulance that had been staging nearby is nowhere to be found.
Fuck is EMS? They're 2 minutes away. Somebody give me the radio with SWAT on it.
They radio the SWAT officers across town,
EMS on Spring.
who are surprised by the call.
Where's Springfield? They're requesting armor down there. We're gonna go ahead and take it. Let's go.
They head for Taylor's address.
It's an apartment.
I didn't know they were in that tonight. I knew it was part of the investigation.
As SWAT arrives, close to 40 police vehicles are already at the scene. Around this time, Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, is being arrested.
You've been hit by a bullet. That's unfortunate. Keep walking backwards. Hey, come on, we need to get moved because there might be a victim inside. Walk backwards! Keep walking backwards! You're scared, right? Walk back, I don't send this stuff! Walk back to me!
Walker had called 911 and neighbours had heard his pleas for help.
You in a fucking prison, that's what's going on.
But at 1 a.m., almost 20 minutes after the shooting, the police still don't know Taylor is critically injured inside.
There's somebody in there dead? Yeah, my girlfriend, it's her house! We have to go in if there's somebody. Yeah. What is this about? My girlfriend is dead.
Keep walking!
As Walker is being led out, SWAT gets ready to secure the apartment.
Hey, there's a kid upstairs. He's not, it's a kid upstairs, little kid. What the? Hey, front door. Yeah, front door. Moving. Short. Clear.
Left side clear.
Go ahead and get EMS in here. I'm gonna check her pulse.
Only now, half an hour after the raid began, does an EMT finally check Taylor.
Yeah, there's a hole right there.
And later, as two officers stand guard, they take in the scene. They see Taylor's uniform. She worked as an emergency room technician in city hospitals. They note the bullet holes.
Body level. Hey, can anybody advise if we can talk to the neighbors directly above this apartment? There's gunshot holes in the ceiling.
Outside, the SWAT officers debrief on what they've seen.
Hey, camera's off there back here.
Yeah, mine's off. This is the fucking one that said they didn't hear us to do it.
The SWAT commander who was called to Taylor's home after the raid was later interviewed by investigators.
We just got the feeling that night that something really bad happened.
Dale Massey, a 20-year police veteran, was highly critical of what unfolded. He said there was no coordination with SWAT.
We had no idea they were going to be at that apartment that night. I would have advised them 100% not to do it.
And that executing another warrant at the same time may have compromised Taylor's safety.
We treat safety very important, right? So like simultaneous warrants, bad business.
Narcotics officers testified that they didn't know Taylor had a new boyfriend, that her sister lived there, or that her 2-year-old goddaughter regularly stayed. Massey said the department had a history of poor intelligence gathering.
Back in the day, we would take a lot of detective information and take it as golden. Not anymore, because so often there's no kids, there's no dogs, we're told, there's kids and dogs. So we have an exhaustive recon process that we go through.
He said standing in the doorway, the fatal funnel, as Mattingly and Cosgrove had, was a tactical mistake.
Is it practical or is it even common for 3 people to be in what we consider the fatal funnel?
Absolutely not, no. You would never put, yourself in that situation.
And that there's a right way and a wrong way to conduct a raid. You knock, announce, and give people ample time to leave.
We're not going to rush in to get dope. We're not going to treat human life's more important than any amount of dope, right?
And just to be clear, no drugs were ever found at Taylor's. His harshest criticism was of Hankinson's blind shots into the apartment.
You have to know, A, what you're shooting at, B, what's in front of it, and B, what's behind it. There's no other way you can operate. It was just an egregious act.
Under Kentucky law, Kenneth Walker had a right to stand his ground against what he believed was an aggressor, and the police in turn have a right to self-defense. But in this analysis, the killing of Breonna Taylor resulted from poor planning compounded by reckless execution. Louisville has instituted police reforms, and Taylor's family received a substantial settlement, but the case isn't closed. Investigations and lawsuits are ongoing, and 9 months after Taylor was killed, her family is seeking a fresh inquiry into the officers involved.
That was amazing, New York Times, right?
Oh,
That was
man,
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
the
you.
Production, yeah, the production value was incredible, and they explained it, extremely clearly, and it gives you just like a really good picture of what happened and what's wrong essentially with the whole story and why they should be charged and why they are guilty of her death. And
they did everything wrong. They did everything wrong. Yeah, Daniel Cameron. Yeah, we watched the Judas and the Messiah.
Right.
Weekend. And that's who I just see him as a Judas. They always put a black. I mean, you'll see this in the things that we talk about. They always put a black face there to represent, so that everybody can say, "Oh, well, he's black and he's right," and that's why they do that, because and then you always find that scapegoat black guy, or the black guy that just I don't know what is wrong with them. I don't know where they were born, where they came from, what their upbringing was. How I don't understand how you could do that to your own people.
And you heard it in the video. It's just that they were basing the raid the announcements, right? They're on one witness who had inconsistent.
He based it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? He's the Lieutenant General. He did it, right?
He was basing it on the fact that this person said that they announced, and then they didn't announce, and then all the other neighbors said that they didn't announce or they didn't hear.
He's a house slave.
What the hell?
He's a house slave. He's a house slave, and he thinks listen, they hate you too. They'll shoot you just like that because the color of your skin. And if you don't realize that, then you're more fool. You are. That's what you are. Is a fool. It's difficult for me to even talk about him because it's an embarrassment.
Is that what it's? Is that so far? That's as far as it's gone so far. So basically, that guy was charged for wanton.
Yeah, that one guy. Yeah. So that's what he said. And now the parents, family are trying to charge the others, and they should be charged.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of them that were there should be charged.
Right.
All of them that were there should be charged. Even the woman that was saying, because the guy was saying my girlfriend, and did you unsympathetic? Listen to me. The only reason why they did it because it was a black area. I don't care what no one says. There were black people. They're going to black, and when you don't see people as humans, that's how you act. That's how I believe you act. When you don't see people, who's going to shoot like that? He fired one shot. Right? Are these inexperienced people? And if they are, then you wouldn't be sending them out to do. You wouldn't be sending them out. Period.
Right, because they got the.
I just said period. I mean, full stop.
Yeah,
said period. Full stop. Sorry, I should.
Right, and it's also I don't know if it's worth I don't know if it's an interesting point, but how there was that one police officer who appeared on. What is it?
Yeah, why I can't remember, because one of those people that were there, right? I can't remember his name for life. We've got to go back.
Yeah, the
I didn't.
Show. Yeah,
I didn't. His body language. He had no remorse.
Right. Exactly. But I'm just curious to know why he did it and not the other. Why don't the other officers also come out and speak? What's holding them back, right?
Because that man felt like he was innocent. The others don't. That's just my analogy of it. He felt
okay.
It was a poor job of acting as like an innocent man in my
Okay. Huh.
Right. This is just my view. My
yeah. Sure.
My
okay.
understanding of it.
Yeah.
I don't I mean, it's not gospel. It's just what I feel. They're not as good. They're not as good as liar as the other guy thought he was, but he wasn't, because we saw right through that, both of us. Cold.
Oof, oof, oof. Yeah. You wanted to talk about Alton Sterling?
Yeah. I'm sorry for yawning. So, Alton Sterling. This is the update. They previously asked for 5 million, and they settled at 4.5 million for the civil lawsuit of Alton Sterling. So that was in 2016. Sterling was shot by police who approached the man while he was selling CDs in front of a local convenience store. He just got shot for selling CDs. Please.
Was anyone charged?
I don't remember. You're talking like nearly 5 years ago. I'm not saying that it's forgotten. It's just I don't remember if anybody was charged.
Well, what's your thoughts on like settlement money? Like getting.
I think they should get settlements, but also the person the culprit should go to prison. Also, they shouldn't get away with it. They should also get a settlement. It's not enough for a loss of a life. No money on this earth is a lot. But they have to pay for the funeral. They got to pay for all this stuff, right? I think he had children. Who is going to support them? So yes.
I wonder how that's determined, like the amount, because it seems like it's different. It's always different in every case. I mean, I think this segues well into like what we wanted to mention about was about like that the gorilla girl, right?
I don't know that quite. She's not a girl. She's a woman. She's 40 years old. Okay. The gorilla glue situation is what I call it. Right. My only thing that I have to say about that is the image of the gorilla and the girl together, and a lot of the childs were doing this, and I felt that it was something that I didn't like. And Lovely T also mentioned this. I like Lovely T. She's pretty on the ball. I watch her now and again. I'm not, because of work, I don't get to watch all the time, but I do like to watch her when I have time. And she talked about this, and she talked about this section here where you see the picture of her and the gorilla. This for me is my problem, is when they're advertising this, or when they're showing this, it means something. It's derogatory to me, and I don't like it. Or you do show her face, don't show the gorilla glue next to her. Doesn't need, why? Because I can see this being a joke for a lot of non-black people, and so I don't like that. I don't really feel that I want to talk about what happened. I don't know why it was it's so big. I don't understand. When in Florida there was that hacking of the water, right? So I don't really understand why it was so big.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you got the glue out. I can't. I'm on the fence with this. I'm on the fence, so I'm not going to say anything or whatever. I mean, I kind of leaning on the side of there's been videos to show that you can get it out, but there was a doctor that there's so many things. And anyway, I don't really want to talk about it because it's not even worth. It's not news. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why it's so big. I want to look at political racism. We're looking at both in the UK and America. I want to start with Priti Patel. Do you know who she is?
Priti Patel. No, I've never heard of her actually.
Priti Patel. Yeah. Home Secretary. Okay. There've been. I mean, there have been questions about how her behavior has been, and she. I say she's got away with it, but it was overlooked and said, well, she didn't, blah blah blah. A treatment of the her employees, but anyway, she attempts to discredit Black Lives Matter by basically calling them a racist group and wanting for them to dismantle. She calls it a racist institution, and she wants to dismantle them and all this nonsense. She shouldn't really hold a position of power because she is from a minority group in the UK where you would expect some support from her. It just shows her ignorance to Black Lives Matter. Right. It shows her a great ignorance, and this is somebody that has a lot of power. that is dangerous.
Home
She's
secretary.
very dangerous. She's a home secretary.
What does that mean?
Well, you need to look it up. You should know.
What does that mean? Not like Homeland Security, right?
No, she's home secretary for the
For Boris Johnson.
well, not for Boris Johnson. Well, she works for him, but she's part of the cabinet.
Looks like she does some.
Okay, that's your homework. You can look it up. But she has a lot of. I mean, look, if you look at the she's like second in command, I think.
Wow.
And she deals with, I think, with deportations and stuff like that. I don't know all of her job, but that's part of it. But she's basically trying to bring down Black Lives Matter, right? With no knowledge of what they do, right? As far as I'm concerned, because why are you going to say this about Black Lives Matter when that's not their it's telling me that you don't understand their purpose, right? And to have such a high position in the cabinet, you're dangerous.
Do you think she's kind of just like playing into the hands of Boris?
I don't care. She's again, we would consider her a house slave.
Would you say Judas?
No, because she's yeah, I guess, because also she doesn't even support her own community, right? The Asian community. She doesn't really. I hear she doesn't really support them. Right? They're saying she's dangerous. She's dangerous to us, our communities, and she's a betrayal to her own race and to the ethnic minority.
So she says BML's racist. How are they racist?
I wouldn't call her racist. I call her prejudice.
Okay.
Right.
She's saying that
okay,
Black Lives Matter.
Let me tell you something. All right. Yeah. We'll talk about this again, but let me tell you something about how this works. I think we talked about this before. So we had Malcolm X, and we had people before that, but I'm talking about, Malcolm X, people that Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the Black Panther, all right? And now we've got Black Lives Matter. It's the same pattern that they use against all, because Malcolm X, they call him a terrorist, they call all these, Martin Luther King, but now we praise him, right? He went through all what you see they're saying about Black Lives Matter. They did the same thing to Martin Luther King. They did the same thing to Malcolm X and to the Black Panther organization, right? They always do this, and she's jumping on the bandwagon, right? She has no knowledge. She obviously has no knowledge, or she's blind and deaf by choice to it.
I mean, someone in her position is elected or chosen by, Johnson. Or
she's chosen by him. She's chosen by him. She's chosen.
Why people would want to elect?
I've been out of touch with that. I think she's chosen. He selects them like a Biden does, right? So I think it's the same thing. This is, for me, when you get to the top, you forget where you came from. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do that. Don't come for us, pretty.
Do you think everyone?
Right. Do not come for Black Lives Matter. Right. Because let me tell you. Let me just be quiet, because these kind of people are very dangerous to our communities. And I'm not just talking about Black community, to their own community. They're very dangerous because they sell out, right? They're Judas and anything for money.
Got it.
And that's how I see her.
Power.
Money and power.
Yeah, because I don't know why anyone would want to elect someone like that. They had those views. I was gonna ask, do you think people in the rest of the parliament also, support her and hold those same views?
Well, a lot of people don't. A lot of white people, they talk about Black Lives Matter, and they always they have no knowledge of them, and they, again, the thing is, right, they're not very creative. When somebody says, oh, this is racism to us, you can't tell us what racism is, because you are always the person, you're the oppressor, you're the person that is perpetrating or committing this action, right? So you can't tell us how to feel, based on what you've done to us and how you've treated us. You can tell us how you've treated us, but you cannot tell us how we feel. And this is where Black Lives Matter comes in. It's there because of what you've done to us and how we feel. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Black Panther organization, they all came about because of the treatment of us, right? And you turn them into something that what you are, right? That you're racist, you're a hate group. That's exactly who you are. And you're not very creative because that's all you know how to be. So then you target us and say that we are like how you are. This is the same thing. Back in history, you see the same pattern. And what they do is they destroy the group, right? They bring in FBI or whatever, some special forces to dismantle the group, right? Because they fear. It's a fear of people finding out the truth.
How do you think someone like Priti Patel, where does that originate from? These like her views, like yes, she
No, you
wants
have to ask
power.
her.
Yes, she wants money.
You have to ask her. I can't answer for her. You have to ask her. I have no answer for her.
We've spoken about this before, but some, we mentioned. I guess we mentioned briefly about like the racism, or I guess like the prejudice in Asians against Black people.
Mm-hmm. That's something we're gonna do. We're gonna do a whole talk on.
Yeah. And, I mentioned before that like even I know people in my own network, the family, friends.
Family. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I can tell you, in my family, there ain't no prejudice. There ain't no prejudice in my family, and I'm proud to tell you that. We hate what's been done to us, right? And see that's the difference, because we're the ones that's been done to. We don't have that hate or that dislike or that prejudice that other cultures have towards us, right? How is that? Because it's not who we are.
Right.
But yet we're the color of our skin is hated, and our character is being defamed so many times in many different ways and shapes and forms.
Would you say this cabinet is diverse?
Let's have a look at the cabinet, shall we? And then we can make that. I'll let you decide. This is the cabinet of the UK. We'll look at the US as well.
I'm gonna just say, make it short and say no. It is.
I can see Asians. I can see 3 Asians so far. Okay. Yes, they have women, white women, 1 Asian woman, 2 Asian women. Where are the Black people? Who are they representing?
Oof. Yeah, this looks pretty single-hued. Single palette.
Who? I don't see anybody that represents me.
Yeah, man.
Or people.
Where's the Kwans?
Right? If this is going to be a cabinet, this is going to be a cabinet, right? You expect them to be people that represent you, that you can see a representative of who you are. Okay. That's what a good cabinet is for me. And I can't see it there. I can see a lot of white faces. Let's have a look at the USA.
Okay, this is Biden's.
Same thing.
Smaller. Yeah.
You got 2 Black people there. Are there any Asians? Or what's this woman? She's Asian, right? That one lady there.
Not sure.
I think there's a Latino. Maybe 1 or 2 Latinos. At least it's better than England, but it's still crap.
Smaller than England as well.
Yeah, but it's still for me. I want to see a mixture of people, because America is supposed to be a salad bowl of people, right? I don't see that in his constituency. Is that what they call them there? I don't know, but
yeah. His what is it? What would you call this? Representatives. Cabinet. In his cabinet.
The cabinet. Same. The cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see it. I really don't see it. And what, just putting 2 blackface and a couple of Latino, 1 Asian in there? What? I don't. And I understand there's people that are qualified for the job, but I'm sure I'm sure there's more. There's more. It's just funny to me. These are the people that are in power, but who are they going to side with? How are they going to take care of us? Do you understand what I mean? And this is okay.
Yeah, right.
This is okay, right? Mm-mm. It's just like, I mean, how is this okay? You can show you, how is this okay? It just shows you how comfortable they are, right? With excluding people that look like me.
Where's the Jays here? Where's the Kwans? I mean, I don't know how the election system works in the UK. Like, are you just voting in your own county, or are you voting?
We vote for our county, and then the amount of county that if the county that has the most counties then goes to, for example, like Boris, most of England voted for him, right? The county people, I can't speak English, but whatever. So the one has the most county votes is the winner.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Boris had the most county vote, which I was quite surprised. But,
Well, when's the next election?
I want to say when did they vote? Was it's either 2019 or 2020? I can't remember. So it's either 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Huh. We can jump to really quickly to Stacey Abrams being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Wow. So Stacey Abrams was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. So the nominations, where did they come from?
It's European.
Okay.
Yeah, like members of parliament from who who was it again? Like someone in Switzerland or in part of Europe, they nominate, and not only do they nominate, they get money. I think there's some kind of money that they get.
Right. Even then, like I wonder, like for the Nobel Peace Prize, like the people who are the nominators, I wonder what the demographics is for that. But yeah. Anyway. But yeah, no, that's awesome that she got that.
I think it's fantastic. She deserves it.
This is for this year Nobel's Peace Prize?
Kwan, are you thinking about what you're saying to me? What are you asking?
I mean, she got nominated for this year's Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah. Well. If it was last year, we wouldn't be talking about it, right?
Or
and it can't be next.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, if they like
2021 just started, right? So
do it for the year, like next year. I don't know how in advance they.
Well, I would imagine it's this year.
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be shady there, sorry.
Huh?
So I wasn't trying to be shady.
No. It's I wonder. So it's just her. It would have been cool if it was like the women that she worked with as well, like that group. I always find that like it's so hard to like.
I understand where you're coming from.
Recognize
Yeah,
one person.
Yeah.
This one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Stacey Abrams, right?
Time in other news after gaining worldwide recognition for boosting voter turnout in Georgia during the presidential and runoff elections, voting activist Stacey Abrams is now a nominee for the Nobel Peace Prize. A politician in Norway's parliament nominated Abrams on the first day of Black History Month. So fitting. The former candidate for Georgia governor and her organization Fair Fight Action played a key role in turning Georgia blue in the past election. The Norwegian Nobel Committee will release a short list of finalists next month, and the winner will be announced in October.
Wow. Love it. I love how she's just like so on the ground, like in the vanguard of everything. Like just.
She seems really humble, right? Have you seen interviews with her? She seems just really, really humble. No. Yeah, you should check it out. She seems really, really humble. And I like her because of that.
Yeah.
And of course, not just for the Black community, but I like the humbleness that I feel from her.
Yeah.
So well done, Stacey Abrams. I wish you luck. I hope that you get this Nobel Peace Prize because you deserve it. Absolutely. You and I know I'm sure she'll share it with the other people that was because I know you said that that the other women. I'm sure it will be shared among them because
yeah. Because they get a prize money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's like $1 million. I don't know. $1 million.
So we have a couple of icons left us this month. Female. That I'd like to mention. I was gutted, especially by Cicely Tyson. I grew up loving her, and
watching her movies.
Yeah, and because she's from the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
And all her family were from the Caribbean. I think she was born in America. I think if I'm right, maybe don't quote me on that. But she died in February 5th, I think, 96 years old. She was an icon to me, because of the roles that she chose to play. You'll hear us talking about it and why she did that. She's a dark-skinned, short black woman. She's like 5'2". It was somebody that represented me, and I always believed I was going to meet her. You know, I don't know why. I just always thought I would meet her. She
be in
is
a movie
just
with her.
no, I'm not an actress. So,
Sing with her.
Just to meet her.
Yeah.
Just to meet her and say hello and just talk. I just always thought I would meet her one day. Somebody I respect and hold with the best regard. You
Is
know,
there any film you recommend then? Any particular film?
There's loads. There's loads. I was trying to watch lots of movies last week. Yeah, there are so many, and things that I didn't know that it was her. But I knew it was her, but I forgot that it was her. That's what I knew it was her. She was in Roots, the first episode of Roots.
Okay.
Do you know Roots?
Is that a television show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was before your time. Roots is a one of the it was written. It was the movie was based on the book by Alex Haley, who found his African roots, and she played the great grandmother of Alex Haley. I forgot her name. She was Kunta Kinte's mother, and this is something that we grew up when we were kids. It came on TV, and that was the first kind of acknowledgement of who we were. Because as far as we were concerned, we were from Jamaica. And that's how kind of brainwashed a lot of Jamaicans are. They don't accept the fact that we're African. Some of them don't. Sorry. So it was an eye opener. But because of the schooling that we had, it kind of, we didn't understand it. We understood it, but then it kind of left us in a sense. And then we had to self teach, or we self-taught ourselves. So Roots was one of the first things that made me kind of wake up in a sense to who I was. And she was played loads of stuff. Jane Pittman, you don't know, you need to maybe look them up. These are people that she played iconic roles, and yeah, maybe you should check her name and you'll see the movies that she's been in. She's been in lots of them. Loads.
Okay.
Let's say goodbye to her. Yeah.
Whenever I'm offered a script, what I'm interested in when I get it is why me? Who was that character and why did they want me to play it? And when I get to the point where I feel like her skin has fitted my arm or my mind, then I know there's something about her.
As a little girl, what were your dreams?
I was a very shy child. If you got 15 minutes of words out of me, you got plenty. You know, I was a thinker. I sucked this finger until I was 12 years old. That's why I have these buck teeth.
Born in 1924 to West Indian parents, Cicely Tyson recounts her extraordinary life in her new memoir, Just As I Am.
I am an observer of human nature and the dreamer of audacious dreams.
The journey to stardom was not an easy one for Tyson, who became pregnant when she was 17 and had a short marriage that lasted just over 2 years. Tyson began her acting career as a single mother, a choice that brought conflict at home.
Weren't you surprised, Cicely, that your mother actually kicked you out of the house because you wanted to be an actress?
Oh, she told me I couldn't live there and do that. Suddenly I found something that I loved to do, and I had a child to support.
So you weren't thinking, when I grow up, I want to be an actress?
No. My mother, I don't know what she wanted me to be. She thought that I was going to live in a den of iniquity, because we grew up in the slums, okay? Lots of prostitutes walking up and down the street. And that's all she knew about movies.
Her mother eventually came around, and their connection is a strong one to this day. The especially in this church.
And I feel that her spirit is here. And so I bought this pew in her name.
So this was a way to honor her.
That's right.
Tyson made her on-screen debut at 31 in the 1956 film Carob Gold. Shortly after that, she enrolled in an acting school run by Paul Mann, a well-known acting coach. She found herself alone with him after her first class, and she writes about a traumatic encounter.
He said, "Excuse me, Miss Tyson, I'd like to talk to you." So I turned around and came back, and before I know it, he pulled me down.
And he was touching you and groping you?
Yes. No, what he wanted me to do was something worse than that. I thought about the whole incident when I got home. And, you know, I never shed a tear about that until this moment.
All these years later, it still affects you that way.
The whole thought that you could go out innocently to achieve something, and it turns out to be something so vulgar and coarse and demeaning to you as a young black woman. But I made up my mind then that I went there for a reason, and that reason had not changed.
It sounds like a Me Too incident before we were even calling it Me Too. And some people would say, but why did you go back? And to that you say,
I went back to get what I was told I needed in order to achieve what I wanted. And I think of the many young black women who go through that and are devastated by it, and it kills their dream. I was not going to let that happen to me.
Through her sheer determination, her talent blossomed and landed Tyson the headlining role of Rebecca in Sounder.
You got you a low-life job, Mr. Sheriff.
The 1972 film about a black sharecropper family.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye, sir.
And a conversation with a white journalist about the movie pushed Tyson to find new purpose in her calling.
And so you're promoting Sounder. A reporter said to you
that he felt a bit of bigotry in himself while he was watching the movie. When I asked him why so, he said, I was uncomfortable about your older son referring to his father as Daddy. I said, do you have children? What do they call you? He said, they call me Daddy. And I thought, my God, this man is thinking that we're not human beings. And I made up my mind that I could not afford the luxury of just being an actress, and that I would use my career as my platform.
Namely, you want black people to be seen as human beings.
That's right.
After playing over 100 roles on the stage and screen, Tyson has won 3 Emmys, a Tony, and an Oscar.
This is the culmination of all those years of have and have-nots.
But beyond her public success, her memoir documents her love story with jazz icon Miles Davis. They were married for 7 years, but their romance spanned decades.
Friends always wondered, why in the world are you with Miles Davis? Because you're right. He was unfaithful. He was abusive. You said Miles needed to be saved from himself, and you needed someone to save.
Well, listen, people who hurt, it's always the person that is closest to them that they hurt. And I was in love with him. He was a beautiful human being.
But you know what? On his deathbed, he wanted you to know that he was...
sorry. Tell Cicely I'm sorry.
Was he the love of your life?
Yes.
Was he? But did you think you could never find love like that again?
I haven't.
You haven't. Have you been looking?
No.
I'll ask you this. What does it feel like to be 96 and a legend, Miss Legend?
I'm amazed every single day I live.
Do you feel like you have more to do?
Yes, that's why I'm still here. I mean, what my life became is not what I expected. I had no idea that I would touch anybody.
When the time comes, what do you want us to remember about you?
I've done my best. That's all.
Oh, she gives me chills. I just adore her. She really is royalty to me. And it was so, I could have talked to her all afternoon. When
Yeah. So what I was saying to you about the reporter, did you hear what she said? Just to say daddy,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
But I love that she was particular about the roles that she took.
right. And she turned down a lot of roles as well, right?
Yeah. Because she didn't want to be a hoochie mama or a prostitute or you know that stereotypical thing that they have for black women, and I take my hat off to her. She's and she's humble with it as well. That's why I like when they're humble. You know, she's really humble, and she's precious. Somebody I would regard as really precious. I mean, what's your views? Because you didn't know about her, right?
No. So yeah, but just the fact that she used her platform, you know, she didn't just take it. She didn't just like, how do I say this? Like,
Yeah, just take advantage or just dwelled on.
Yeah. Exactly.
She didn't feel by herself.
Right. She realized she had that like power and responsibility to like, you know, really uplift a whole people. So in that regard, you know, and you know, coming from where she came from, like her background, you know, makes you realize like, oh shit, like I should be doing much more, you know, given the position I am in society, right? And what she accomplished.
But I think what we do is good. The thing is, we're vulnerable here. We're out here. We're not, you know, we're coming on, put ourselves on YouTube, and we're kind of opening ourselves up, and it's kind of scary for me. But I want to do this because it's my way of giving. We're showing what's happening to us in society, and hopefully, like we say, if it's just one person watches and changes their view, then we've done something. And you know, I want to do as much as I can and more as we can do, as much as possible. I don't ever want this to stop until racism stops. You know, that's when we stop doing these videos, or when, of course, when I die, right? So, it's just she's somebody that I wanted you to know about, and I hope that Daryl bought me the book for Valentine's Day. And I should have got it before Valentine's Day, but Amazon messed that up. So I'm still waiting for the book. I'm excited to get it.
Yeah, maybe I should start with Roots. You said Roots.
She did earlier show. It's up to you. Just put in Cicely Tyson. There's other movies on YouTube that you can watch for free.
Seem pretty, like,
I'm watching ones that I've never watched. So there's lots that you can watch. And
whole life's work.
She's amazing. Yeah, she's for me, she's an amazing actress. I've always loved her. Because she
sounded really cool.
Yeah, but there are lots that and you can, if you just write a name and you'll see all the movies that she's been in. You know, you can either watch all of them, and I don't want to tell you what to watch. I want you to go ahead and just watch something just by the name of it, or however the title makes you feel. So just go ahead and watch it. I hope you watch more than one, because she's awesome. She did choose some really good roles. A lot of them, if not all of them. And some of that I will remember. It's like I felt like somebody that I knew, that I've lost. 96, so that's a ripe old age, right? 96 years old, and she still look good, right?
Yeah, I love
Black don't crack.
You know, and like I just respect her, like people like her, because she dedicated her life. Her whole life was kind of like a mission, right?
Yeah.
She never, she never faltered. It was never a front and a mask. You know what I mean? It was who she was, and throughout her whole life, and
She carried
that's
herself
her
though.
legacy.
She was,
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
oh my gosh. Mm, mm. I feel like I lost. I didn't get to. I really would have loved to have met her, honestly. As somebody, you say in life, there's there's some people that you'd love to have met, and she's one of them.
She just seems
She's
like
one.
she's just like has so much love and like genuine love to give to people, and that warmth, around her. I love it. I love it.
Let's have a look at
Cashflow,
Mary
or
Wilson. Yeah, the icon who passed away, Mary Wilson. She was 76. She was really young.
Mary
So
Wilson.
she's.
Yeah, I never
Do
heard
you know
of.
Diana Ross and do you know the Supremes? Diana Ross and the Supremes. Have you heard of them?
I
No.
know
Okay.
the Pointer Sisters. I know the top.
Okay. The what? Let's go ahead.
Okay.
And breaking news, Mary Wilson, a founding and original member of the Supremes, died suddenly tonight at her home in Las Vegas. Wilson helped change the face of pop, R&B, and soul music with the Supremes by breaking down racial and gender barriers. The group was originally called the Primettes in 1959, and later, as the Supremes, it became Motown's most successful act with Diana Ross as the lead singer. She will be missed, but her music and her voice will live on. Mary Wilson was 76.
Yes, Team Power. Cicely Tyson and Mary Wilson. Resting everlasting power.
Any song that comes to mind that you can recommend?
Loads. One of them I used to do I need love to ease my mind. I need to find someone to call mine. But mama said you can't hurry love. No, you just have to wait. She said love don't come easy. It's a game of.
You're killing it.
I grew up
you're
on them.
slaying it.
I
Damn.
love the Supremes, Diana Ross. I was just crazy about them when I was a kid. So
I love that vibe too, that Motown, like I
yeah.
love it. I love it.
This way
Is this okay?
But I keep on waiting for that soft voice to talk to me at night, for that tender arms to hold me tight. I keep waiting. We should have played that one because that's one of my favorite songs. I love, and the Mary Wilson and Florence and Ballard, because Florence, the other girl, died also very early, very young.
Oh, okay.
I think she maybe. Yeah. So Donna Ross is the only one that's left now. I've read that book as well. Mary Wilson's book is My Life as the Supremes. I read it several times.
Actually, I haven't heard the next song.
This is it shows all of the people that lives have been taken by police. Okay. And if you listen to the words, so this is, we're gonna end on this. Okay. Right? So these are all the Black people whose life has been unjustly taken by police.
When I guess like this picture, when you see this picture, like, what do you see? What thoughts come to mind when you see this picture?
And it's very difficult to see what's going on. It just looks like the police being their usual self, and they're using their cars to hit people. Unfair, as unfair as that. Okay, I know they don't represent all of them, but it's really difficult to. I think finding a good police is finding a needle in a haystack. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. Internationally, UK too, Canada too, France too, Germany too. That's how I feel. Japan, I'm a little bit different with Japan. I don't know. I don't feel any way.
Do you think it's just intrinsic in like the job itself? It's just like that kind of job attracts people who are okay.
What racist?
Racists who are.
Well, again, look at the history of it. Right, it's power. A lot of people want power, and sometimes power is put into the wrong hands. A lot of the times. Right, so these people have a lot of power. And this is you can't just blame the people that do the jobs. You got to blame the people that employ them, that interview them, and let them get away with what they're getting away with. Is it buffering or have you played it?
No, I'm just talking to you. Yeah, I haven't played
Okay.
it. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
This is a really powerful by Cashflow, featuring Nathaniel the Great. It's a really powerful video.
So
Short
I
but very
guess
powerful.
yeah, Jay and I are signing off, and enjoy the video.
What they really want from us. Every time I turn around, it's a killing. Cause being black or brown, you're the villain. What they want from us is trying to get ahead, and we end up dead or in prison. What they really want from us, no justice, no justice. Oh, what they really want from us, no justice, no justice, no justice, no
It was
peace.
Freddie, Sam, Corey, Eric, Philando, Ahmad, Steven, Kenneth, Amadou, Jonathan, Christian, Terrace, Sean. Killed him a day before his wedding. Jamal killed him while he was in handcuffs. Mike killed him while he had his hands up. Kamani, Ramali, Phillip, Alton. About 3 Kevins, about 2 Jordans. John, Laquan, Bathon, Stephon, Tony, Tamir, Elijah, Antoine, Isel, Terrell, Dauntre, Akai, George. For him, set the country on fire. Timothy, Patrick, Paul, Tyree, Quintonio, Darius, Jeremy, William, Anthony, Dante, Oscar, Kendrick, Keith, David, Walter, women like Sandra, Betty, Brianna, India, Michelle, Tatiana, Tanisha, Rika, Natasha, Pamela, Janet, Megan, Corinne, baby Ayana. All that we lost, your name live on. Wasn't killed by a cop, but I can't forget Trayvon. Can't forget Emmett, and all of those we lost to the beast. No justice, no peace.
What they really want from us. Every time I turn around, it's a killing. Cause being black or brown, you're the villain. What they want from us is trying to get ahead, and we end up dead or in prison. What they really want from us, no justice, no justice. Oh, what they really want from us, no justice, no justice, no justice, no peace.
Do you listen to the words? Powerful message.
Yeah, it's just.
Was that just knock you for 6, is it? As we say in cricket.
It's it's funny how like
it's a reality, and that's why I like songs and videos like this that shows you the reality, and you see it. It's in your face. It's right there, and you're speechless because it's happening. It's been happening, and it's got to stop. It has to. And the only people that can do that is us. It's the public. It's us, because the government ain't going to do it. Hence, Black Lives Matter.
It's
Black
funny
Lives
how like
Matter.
at the end, they had that part with like the white cops, right, arresting the guy, and they were just like kind of like laughing at it and like treating it like a joke.
But you see that they pulled out the ID. You see the pull out.
The cover.
ID, and he's a Harvard student. So this is basically saying they have they just target all black people regardless. We all are criminals. His mind is business walking down the street. You can't walk, you can't do anything. You can't just walk naturally because they're going to come and stop you and say, you fit the description.
Yeah, like
I wanted to talk briefly about what we talked about because we're a member of a group, and the other day we we had a activity to play, and just before we go, real quick, and it really affected. And I think you knew that because we were going down the list. It was all these. Do you remember what they were down the list of
I
things?
mean, like the words on the list.
We had life in general, and then we had, you know, there was certain things part of your life that it affected, like the life in general, and what were there? I can't remember the other thing, but because that was life in general was what I chose, right? Everybody else chose something else. What did you choose?
Right. People chose work. People chose family. People chose themselves. But basically, the activity was we were given a list of words, and I guess like mostly, a lot of it was like I guess like value words, and we were asked to choose a domain in our lives that like we thought was the most important, or a very important domain in our lives, and then select 5 of those value words that were the most important. And then after that, we were asked like how would we feel if we lost one of those, right? So for example, I chose the domain of work, and I chose values like, oh, I want to be competent at my work. I want to have autonomy. I want to be creative. I want to have passion, things like that. And then we were asked to like, choose one. Like if I didn't have that, what would I do? How would I feel? So it's like if I didn't have passion in my work, what would I do? How would I feel? So then, like you said, Jay, like it was interesting because
It didn't relate to me. It didn't relate to me. It didn't relate to me because in order for me to have all that feeling, I need to feel equal. And that's why I said equality is not there. And that's something that's important to me. And that I'm not being able to live because there's no equality for me and people who look like me. Right? And so it was a game. And I mean, one thing I'm you know, the organizer of the game, I'm glad that he's a white guy who said, I'm privileged. And I was like, whoa, it kind of shocked me that he said that. But he realized that was missing. And I said it was missing and it should be there. But I can't move past that. So it was set for people who are comfortable in their privilege or in their lives, right? But and it shows how it was an example of how misrepresented or unrepresented we are, and how people don't think about how Black lives don't matter, how we are not equal, and people go on with their lives and they can all, and I couldn't choose any of those things because I'm not equal.
Yeah, I guess it's a really good example of I guess like the disparity between like equality.
It was everybody in the group, right? We had white people.
We all exactly.
And I'm the only Black person in the group, but everybody else was fine except for me, and I wasn't fine with it.
The value.
And I wasn't mad at anybody. It was just a reality that because everyone was okay talking about themselves and not realizing that I'm not equal though. I'm not seen as an equal in this world. I'm not seen as equal, and it's a majority of people don't see us as equal.
Yet at the same time, you put those values on that list that don't take into account the values that need to be, or the conditions that need to be established in order for you to actually appreciate and exactly those. Right. I guess but then like I guess like the question that needs to be asked is like, how should that have gone instead? What should have been different in the way that activity?
No, I'm glad that it went that way because it shows how comfortable people are in their way, in their life, in their.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, sure.
People don't see that Black people are discriminated, and it's part of our life. It's a part of our everyday life, no matter where we go in this world. It doesn't matter because already white people have sown the seed of distortion on Black people. So everybody has. Why do you think your mom doesn't like or people from your family or etc. friends don't like black people, because there's a seed of distortion being sown already. Right, that tells us, oh, they tell you the white side of black people, but then when they know about white history, right, but they're still coming for black people. And this is the thing that I can't understand. I can't comprehend how they know what's happened in the past, but still they're on the side of white people. That's what I don't understand. I'm not saying it shouldn't be sides, but you should have a bit more understanding of when it comes to us, but you don't.
It would be interesting if you brought this up in the group.
Yeah, I did though. Yeah, I did. Do you remember I said this? I said I can't move past it because it didn't apply to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like
I will mention it again. I will mention it again. I will, because I want to. It's something good to talk about, where people don't realize their privileges and don't realize what they've got.
Yeah.
And when you make certain activities that you not intentionally leave me out, but I'm left out really, because in order for me to feel the way you do, I need to be seen as equal, and I'm not.
To be fair, what's it called? The organizer of the activity did mention that, like, there were a bunch of values that weren't included, just because
I know that, but I don't think that. I really don't. Do you think that equality would have been one of them? I don't. I don't believe equality would have been one of them, because it doesn't affect them. Not really, until they come to Japan or live in another country. But it's not like it is how it is for us. So I shouldn't say that. I'm just basing it on my idea. I don't know about theirs, but anyway.
Sure.
The fact that we're in Japan and still, because if that was a real problem for them, that would have been something that would have been on there, don't you think? Equality would have been on there, because they live in Japan, and sometimes we do get
that's true.
right?
That's true. And the fact that actually, maybe you don't know this, but actually the fact is that this game, so basically, originally I first did this game in person when the meetings were still happening in person. So I went to like the office, and the organizer, he actually did this game. The first time he did this game was actually based on cards. So like they're actually real cards with, like, all the values written out. So essentially he just took the words and like put them online, wrote them up, made a document. So this is a product that's actually made that doesn't include, I guess, what you're saying, like those
So it's like a
values
lot of things, it's like a lot of things, and probably why I won't get into university to do my second master's, because of what I feel, and I'm very honest about how I feel, and I talk about counseling and how some of it is not catered for Black people, right? So and a lot of it's just a lot of it is, it doesn't revolve around us. Right? It's not. It's Eurocentric. It's not international. It doesn't go for all the country. Do you understand? It's got nothing to do with us, right? And when I say Euro, I mean it includes Americans, because they're initially from Europe. So that's what I mean, and Canadians and all those people that I've So it doesn't include us or Asian people.
I think I think this would be like just like a really good thing to like explore more with you, just like the things that like explore, like how Black people aren't included in the education system, in counseling, for example, you're saying, right?
Yeah, but when I say counseling, we have Asian people in England, but the counseling system is not focused on them. It's focused around a lot of time rich white people, but it's more sided to a white person. But my a relative of mine had mental illness, and what they do for Black people is that medication, and the white people would get, and I studied this, and white people would get counseling. So therefore, that's a proof there that the counselling is not um, designed around Black people.
And you know, like bringing back to how this is systemic. You know, it's like depending on the country, but like mental health care is sometimes like covered under insurance, and so this goes, this feeds into the system how like they're funding counseling that's only benefiting a certain demographic of people.
In England, they don't pay.
Okay.
So that's even harsher. That your doctor is your GP is recommending you go to see a psychiatrist, not a counselor. That's what happens. I'm speaking in the past now. I don't know, but I think it's probably the same. But that was one of the reasons why I started studying psychology, because of it's supposed to be for everybody, but it isn't.
Right.
And I teach it here, so I'm really glad that I get to teach Japanese students about it. And they learn about. I just teach basic psychology, and but the feedback I get, they really enjoy it and they learn, because I'm very honest about it, and I talk about the definite flaws where it concerns us, people that are not Caucasian.
How high is the English level usually of your students? What does
It doesn't matter, because I prepare them. It's like it's not about the English level. The first years, and they're freshmen, and I'm for some of them it's the first time they've ever had a native English teacher.
Oh wow!
And I
teach.
Okay, wow. I lecture in English only. I don't use any Japanese. But what I do is for them to get used to my voice, I record my voice, and I'm telling stories like fairy tales that they don't know, like Rumpelstiltskin, The Princess and the Pea. They don't know these stories. So I record my voice every other week, and they have to listen over and over again, and they have to summarize. They have to tell me the title, what they think the title is, and they have to summarize the story in 100 words in English. And it doesn't matter about the mistakes. It's so that I can get, and it's for me, I use it so they can get used to my voice. And they do, it works, because they're listening over and over again. So when the first lecture is like, oh my God, right? The second lecture is they get better, the third lecture and so on, because they're listening to my voice. And they have to, part of their homework, right? So if they don't do it, they don't get the points. I really appreciate this. We've got, we might do another one this month.
February?
Yeah, because we've got so many things to talk about. Unless we're going to do.
Yeah, because we have the material, right? So
we have lots of material that we wanted to talk about this. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, yeah. Kwan, honestly, I really,
it's been a 4-hour session today. Nice.
Is it 10 o'clock? Oh shoot, yeah. It's well, it's good fasting. It's good to go to bed now from fasting.
Even though we covered like continents of material, there's still like planets and solar systems that
we still have so many things.
So much.
My appreciation is that your interest in our culture and how you committed to this, and you're still here, and it's our free time. We're not getting paid for this. We just and it just shows me your commitment to equality for everyone, and I have so much respect for you.
I feel
and
like
admiration.
like it's almost like it should be the norm. If anything, there shouldn't be like any like I mean like thank you, but like it's like this is what people should do to given that what's happened. Right? It's like what are you doing? You should be doing this, So anyways,
so you're just humble.
Okay. But yeah, thank you, Jay.
That we're still here, and your loyalty is it's we're in this together, and I really appreciate. I just want to say I really appreciate.
Let's do it. That inspires me. And that gives me,
I'm not sure if it's this month or next month, but see you next time. Thank you so much, Kwan. You're awesome.
All right. Enjoy this video and peace out.
What they really want from us. Every time I turn around, it's a killing. Cause being black or brown, you're the villain. What they want from us is trying to get ahead, and we end up dead or in prison. What they really want from us, no justice, no justice. Oh, what they really want from us, no justice, no justice, no justice, no
It was
peace.
Freddie, Sam, Corey, Eric, Philando, Ahmad, Steven, Kenneth, Amadou, Jonathan, Christian, Terrace, Sean. Killed him a day before his wedding. Jamal killed him while he was in handcuffs. Mike killed him while he had his hands up. Kamani, Ramali, Phillip, Alton. About 3 Kevins, about 2 Jordans. John, Laquan, Bathon, Stephon, Tony, Tamir, Elijah, Antoine, Isel, Terrell, Dauntre, Akai, George. For him, set the country on fire. Timothy, Patrick, Paul, Tyree, Quintonio, Darius, Jeremy, William, Anthony, Dante, Oscar, Kendrick, Keith, David, Walter, women like Sandra, Betty, Breonna, India, Michelle, Tatiana, Tanisha, Rika, Natasha, Pamela, Janet, Megan, Corinne, baby Ayana. All that we lost, your name live on. Wasn't killed by a cop, but I can't forget Trayvon. Can't forget Emmett, and all of those we lost to the beast. No justice, no peace.
What they really want from us. Every time I turn around, it's a killing. Cause being black or brown, you're the villain. What they want from us is trying to get ahead, and we end up dead or in prison. What they really want from us, no justice, no justice. Oh, what they really want from us, no justice, no justice, no justice, no peace.